Chapter 29:12. To the west of the Ziyang land, in a small city, an average young warrior walked by. He was holding a little girl's hand. The girl was beautiful, like an elf. Even though she was wearing an average robe, her beauty could not be hidden. Needless to say, she would grow up to be a stunning beauty. Unfortunately, the girl was cold. She kept her head down as she walked. She looked sad, as if nothing around her could attract her interest and attention. Alas, Luli looked back at Enlure and sighed. He had left the territory of the family with Enlure. He bought new clothes for her, took her to eat delicious food, and made elixirs for her to suppress the cold energy. Enlure was good at everything and cooperated with him, but she rarely talked like a child with autism. Luli took her out of the city and to a small town nearby. There was a strange place there that he wanted to see. It was said that there was an ageless tree there. It had been hundreds or thousands of years, and it had remained the same. It never changed, never shed leaves, never blossomed, and never bore fruit. It had been like this for thousands of years. There were many people who went to observe this tree, but no one found any clues. Many people wanted to cut down this tree, but ordinary warriors couldn't destroy this tree. Later, a warrior of the great emperor realm from the Ziyang land came. After observing for half a day, he said that the tree was an ominous tree. He told people to stay away and not to destroy it. Of course, people believed the words of the great emperor realm. Nobody went near the tree or paid attention to it. Luli didn't believe in ominous words. Now that he was here, he must go and have a look. The small town was not far away from the city. Luli walked into the town with Enlure. There were not many people in the town, only several hundred. There were no powerful warriors either. The most powerful one was a warrior of the third tribulation. The strange combination of Luli and Enlure caught many people's attention. But the people here were simple and honest. Nobody showed any malice to them. Instead, they smiled at Enlure. Enlure kept a straight face and kept walking with her head down. Luli shook his head. They walked to a hill next to the town and saw the ageless tree. The tree was huge with lush foliage. It was empty. There was not a single weed in an area with a radius of several miles. Only some thick roots could be seen. Luli stood under the tree and looked at it. After a while, he closed his eyes and tried to sense it carefully. Enlure sat on the side with her legs crossed, cultivating by herself in silence. Luli stood there for more than 2 hours. When he opened his eyes, they were filled with confusion. He had found something strange about the immortal tree, but he could not understand it in such a short time. He felt it was a mystery beyond mystery. Let me stay here. Luli looked at it for a while and made up his mind. This tree had touched his soul. He believed that if he stayed here for a while, he would be able to gain something. If he was alone, it wouldn't have mattered. However, since Enlure was here, Luli had to be careful. Enlure was a child, and it was time for her to grow up. She was still traumatized, and if she was not properly guided, she would go astray. He thought for a moment, walked up to Enlure, and said with a smile, "Lure, shall we stay here for a while?" Enlure opened her eyes and nodded without saying anything. Luli asked again, "How about we build a house together? A house that belongs to us?" As a matter of fact, there was a tavern in the small town. Luli had enough divine stones to buy a small manor. However, Luli didn't do that. Instead, he chose to build it with Enlure. Enlure's family was destroyed, and she must feel like a child without a home. If she could rebuild her home with her own hands, it would definitely give her some sense of accomplishment and security. House. All right. Sure enough, Enlure's eyes lit up, and she stood up. Luli glanced around and walked toward another hill with Enlure. There were many trees and a stream. Luli took out a saber, handed it to Enlure, and said, "You go cut the trees. I'll build the foundation." Okay. Enlure carried her sword and went up the mountain. Luli went to a nearby boulder and chopped the stones into square pieces. He then brought the stones back and began to cast the foundation beside the stream at the foot of the mountain. Young as Enlure was, she was at the second tribulation realm. It was not a problem for her to cut down trees. She went back quickly and carried the trunks back. By the time Luli finished building the foundation, Enlure had come back with more than a dozen trees. Luli taught her how to cut the trees and then built quickly. It was overkill for Luli, a warrior of the great emperor realm, to build a house. Soon, a big cabin and a small cabin were built. Luli only did some simple things and asked Enlure to do the more complicated ones. For example, building a bed for Enlure, digging a latrine, and making wooden tables and chairs were all guided by Luli. Enlure did it all by herself. Then, Luli took out some beds from his interspatial ring and asked Enlure to make them. He waved his hand and asked her to gather some flowers to decorate her room. Blood Fairy, build shield. Considering that he might have to go to the Tree of Eternity to meditate, Luli asked Blood Fairy to build some formations to protect Enlure. Even though he was close and nobody could get close to him, Luli decided to be careful. Enlure came back from collecting flowers and plants. She also brought back a stray puppy. Luli didn't blame her. He nodded and said, "Keep it as a companion. Go and wash it. It stinks." For the first time, Enlure smiled. She took the stray dog to the stream. Luli looked at the stray dog with melancholy. He thought of Little White, the little beast that grew up with him and fought with him. Little White had been missing for many years and could not be found. Luli had lost all hope. He believed that Little White must be dead. Otherwise, it would not have been gone for so long. When Enlure came back, Luli took out some god slags and asked her to go to the town to buy some food. He did not need to eat, but Enlure did. Luli asked Enlure to go so that she could get in touch with other humans. Luli just sensed that the town was filled with simple civilians. He hoped that the kindness of the civilians could heal Enlure's trauma. Enlure was obedient. She took the puppy to the town. Luli stood still, but his psychic power was locked on her. When she came back with some meat, Luli nodded. He barbecued the meat himself and cooked a delicious dinner for Enlure. The puppy had some as well. After it finished, it lay down by Enlure's feet. Luli hardly ate anything. When Enlure was done, he asked her to clean up. Looking at her seriously, Luli asked, "Lure, do you want revenge?" "Yes." Enlure looked at Luli with determination. "Then, acknowledge me as your master." Luli nodded. "Kowtow 3 times. From today on, you are my apprentice. I will teach you everything I know. Whether you can become a powerful warrior will depend on your efforts." Chapter 29:13. Luli did not take Enlure as his protege because he wanted to raise her as a concubine. Ever since he married Yin Qingxi and Xiang Linglong, Luli had lost interest in love. He would not take in any more women. He took Enlure as his protege for 2 reasons. For one thing, he promised that he would keep her safe for the rest of her life. For another, he wanted to give Enlure a title to avoid gossip. For another, he wanted to give Enlure some spiritual sustenance. After all, Enlure had no family. As her teacher, Luli was her family as well. The presence of a young man and a little girl did not disturb the peace of the small town. Luli often sat under the Tree of Eternity. Apart from cultivating, Enlure would play with a puppy. Occasionally, she would go hunting in the mountains. She rarely went to the small town. She would only go to the small town to buy some daily necessities. She hardly talked to people. Some kids in the small town wanted to play with her, but she did not talk to them. Luli did not teach her cultivation skills or skills. He only told her to cultivate divine energy. At the same time, he gave her some soul-nurturing pellets to improve her soul. It was pointless to cultivate skills and skills at the moment. She might as well focus on improving her realm. In a few years, when she reached the 4th tribulation, she would cultivate. Even if he were to teach her profound skills, it would be difficult for her to learn them. The holy body of Frigid Shade deserved its name. She could cultivate fast. She could feel the difference every day. Luli also asked Blood Fairy to build a spirit-gathering formation for her so that she could cultivate faster. It had been proven that with enough resources, 4th and 5th tribulation warriors could be cultivated in large numbers. Luli had many pellets, and Enlure had a rare divine body. With Luli's help, it would be hard for Enlure to cultivate slowly. Luli did not teach her skills or skills. Instead, he gave her some books. Those books were not about cultivation, but about how to conduct oneself. Luli hoped that Enlure would not become a killing machine and that she would live for revenge. Even so, Enlure was still depressed. Every now and then, she would talk to the stray dog she named Little Duo. Usually she would not talk. Luli had been cultivating under the tree of eternity. He had no time to chat with her. Luli really didn't have the time to take care of Enlure. He had found something interesting in the tree of immortality that inspired him. Recently, he had been working on the soul skill. There was a natural divine formation inside the immortal tree. Through this divine formation, the tree was actually cultivating. The tree's lifespan had also increased infinitely. That was why it didn't age. Standing under the tree of eternity, Luli could sense that all the life in the surroundings had been sucked away by the tree. That was why there were no flowers or trees nearby. Fortunately, someone in the town had set up a magic array to prevent the tree from absorbing the vitality of the town's residents. Otherwise, the people in the town would have a much shorter lifespan than ordinary people. A tree could actually absorb the vitality of heaven and earth and cultivate. Not only could it absorb vitality, but could also absorb chi of the 5 elements, which intrigued Luli. It fused the 5 elemental energies together and transformed them into the energy it needed. This was what Luli was interested in. The integration of the immortal tree was ingenious. Luli wanted to integrate his soul as well to make the sword of soul that the reincarnation emperor mentioned. It was late autumn, and Lure was at the second tribulation realm, so she was not afraid of cold or heat. Luli didn't have to worry about her getting sick. Time flew by in peace. Soon it was winter. It was snowing. Luli had been sitting under the tree of eternity with his legs crossed. He hadn't moved for several months. Now, he was covered in snow, turning into a snowman. Seeing this, Enlure stopped cultivating. She walked over and started a fire next to Luli. She seemed to be afraid that Luli would freeze. She even built a simple pavilion to shelter him from the wind and snow. Luli didn't pay attention to her. He continued to cultivate. Enlure often sat next to Luli. In the middle of winter, the peace of the town was finally broken. A group of wandering bandits came out of nowhere and started to rob the town. Luli didn't move. Enlure heard the cries in the town. She looked at Luli and rushed into the town with the saber Luli gave her. These are the lowest level of wandering bandits. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been reduced to robbing a town. Most of the wandering bandits were at the second tribulation realm. The most powerful one was at the peak of the third tribulation realm. A small number of warriors were fighting with the wandering bandits in the town. Enlure had reached the peak of the second tribulation realm after several months of cultivation. She only knew one kind of skill, a sword move. Even though she was using a saber, she was brave and fierce. She killed a wandering bandit in one move. Maybe it was because she had eaten human hearts and drank human blood before. She was not afraid of killing. She just looked a bit pale. After she killed the first one, Enlure paused for a bit and then rushed on. The weapon in her hand was just an average weapon for Luli, but for regular warriors, it was a relic weapon. Enlure was brave and fierce. She killed several people in a row. The people in the town didn't expect that this girl could be so powerful. They had lost all hope. Now their morale was boosted. The leader of the wandering bandits was fighting with the most powerful old man in the town. The old man had defeated the old man easily. Seeing that Enlure had killed so many of his men with a relic weapon, the leader flew into a rage. He roared and charged at Enlure. After all, Enlure was only at the second tribulation realm. She had no experience in fighting. She could kill several people in a row because of the relic weapon Luli gave her. Now that she was attacked by the bandit leader, she showed her cowardice. She was almost killed several times. She was even stabbed in the arm. Go to hell. The bandit leader's sword glowed, and he stabbed at Enlure's head. Beautiful as Enlure was, the bandit leader would not show mercy to the fairer sex. He just wanted to kill all the powerful warriors in the town, loot the town, and leave as soon as possible. Buzzing right at that moment, an invisible force field pressed down. The bandit leader felt he could not move. He looked at the road outside the town in horror. A snowman walked over. He was covered in snow and wind. His face could not be seen. Enlure's face was full of fear. Just now, she faced death for the first time. At that moment, she felt she was going to die. When Ian's family was destroyed, she had been protected by her forefather. This was the first time she was facing a life-threatening crisis. Unlure, kill him. Lu Li's cold voice came. Unlure obeyed Lu Li's words blindly. She swung her saber at the bandit leader. A head flew up. Blood gushed out from the neck and splashed on Unlure's face. Lu Li seemed to be walking slowly, but he had reached Unlure in just a few steps. He saw Unlure covered in blood, her face full of fear, and her body still shivering. Lu Li said in a deep voice, "This is your first lesson, the smell of death." A warrior who has never faced death and never experienced a life-and-death crisis will never become a powerful warrior. Also, I want to teach you one more thing. If you want to help others, you must do what you can. Don't put yourself in danger. Reckless people are the easiest to die. Do you understand? Yes. And Lure nodded. At that moment, she was not trembling. Her face was full of determination. Maybe it was because Lu Li was standing next to her that she felt fearless. Lu Li waved his hand and said, "Go. These wandering bandits are vicious. Don't show them any mercy. Kill them all." "Yes, master." Chapter 29:14. The bandits were cleaned up quickly. Now that their leader was dead, morale had hit rock bottom. The bandits were scared out of their wits by the presence of a powerful warrior like Lu Li. More than half of the bandits were killed, and the ones that were left ran away. Lu Li didn't go after them. Those low-level bandits were not worth his time. After all the bandits were killed, Lu Li went back to the ageless tree to continue his cultivation. Unlure came back as well. After the people of the small town were done, the mayor of the small town came to Lu Li with some famous people with generous gifts. Even though most of the bandits were killed by Unlure, they all knew that it was Lu Li who saved the mayor's life. Lu Li didn't open his eyes. He just waved his hand and said, "Don't do this. I don't like it. You can leave now. Don't disturb my cultivation." The mayor of the small town knew that Lu Li must be a powerful warrior. He didn't think much of the gifts, so he left obediently. They went to Unlure. They didn't treat Unlure as a child, but as a benefactor to thank her. Unlure was indifferent. Since Lu Li didn't accept their gifts, she wouldn't either. After a moment of silence, she said, "You sell me food, and I will help you kill the bandits. Bandits deserve to die. My master doesn't accept your gifts, and neither will I. Please go back." The mayor of the small town did not say anything more. Instead, he sent someone back with a lot of food. This time, Unlure accepted it. The mayor of the small town left with his men. He knew that Lu Li and Unlure were both extraordinary people. Otherwise, how could Unlure reach the second tribulation realm at such a young age? Extraordinary people would do extraordinary things. Disturbing them too much would only arouse their disgust. Lu Li continued to cultivate, and so did Unlure. She had reached the peak of the second tribulation realm. After a while, she could pass the heavenly tribulation. People from the small town kept sending food over. Two little girls were the granddaughters of the mayor of the small town. They admired and liked Unlure very much. After all, Unlure was just a kid. She was cold at first when people of her age brought her food every day. Gradually, she became familiar with them and began to chat with them. Although the content of the conversation was not much, it was also a good sign. After all, Unlure had begun to accept the outside world and was not so autistic. Louis now had some ideas. Even though he had not fully grasped the basics, it was a good start. Louis pressed on with a spurt of energy and continued to cultivate. He didn't even care about Unlure now. He just left a mark on her. Louis had the most exquisite armor, but he did not let Blood Fairy use it. In his opinion, giving the child too much protection would only harm her. This was also the reason why Lu Li put Unlure in a life-threatening situation. It was hard for a child to grow up in a greenhouse. Lu Li didn't want Unlure to be a flower in a greenhouse. Since she had such a good physique, she could be trained well. Maybe she could become a super powerful warrior. Another few months passed by. Spring had come, and Lu Li had finally mastered the integration. He had already determined the direction and deduced that this path was accurate. Therefore, as long as he continued deducing, there would be a day when he would succeed. When this soul skill was mastered, Lu Li believed that his soul attacks would be incredible. At the very least, the average Emperor Realm warriors would not be able to stand it. By then, he would have another powerful attack. When he reached the Emperor Realm, the chains of order had completely integrated with him. Together with the dragon transformation, he would have 3 kinds of attacks. His chances of defeating the Asmodean would be much higher. Master, when Luli opened his eyes and was about to take a rest, an lure came over. She bowed and said, "I think I can go through the tribulation now." Luli looked at her and nodded. "Rest for a couple of days. Later, I will take you to the tribulation." After living here for more than half a year, Unlure had grown taller. She looked more like a teenage girl now. The destruction of the Yin family was a huge blow to her, which made her mature quickly. Luli went back to his room and had a good sleep. When he woke up, he took Unlure to a desert 300,000 miles away. He asked Blood Fairy to build a platform for tribulation, but he didn't tell her to build any formations that could weaken the tribulation. Unlure was only at the 3rd heaven's tribulation. If Lu Li were to weaken her tribulation now, how could she survive the later ones? If Lu Li could weaken her tribulation, she could go through it easily. But the 4th or 5th heaven's tribulation would be the best she could achieve in her lifetime. Put this on. Luli took out the leather armor he acquired years ago. It was an inner armor, which was good for the tribulation. During the tribulation, the warrior's robe would be burned. The inner armor could not protect the warrior from the tribulation, but it could protect the body. Though Unlure was still young and not a teenage girl, she was a girl after all. Luli should be careful. "Thank you, Master." Unlure went to take control of the armor at once. Luli sat on the ground, waiting for Blood Fairy to finish the runes. Luli removed the spiritual imprint on the armor. Unlure took control of it quickly. In 2 days, she was done. The armor went into her body automatically. Luli said, "Don't count on the armor to help you survive the heaven's tribulation. Also, you're haunted by evil spirits. I hope you can forget about them for now. Otherwise, you will never become a powerful warrior. The haunted will kill you." Unlure was smart. She understood what Luli meant at once. She nodded. Luli waved his hand. Unlure stepped onto the platform. Luli kept his eyes closed. He did not look at Unlure. He acted as if he could wash his hands of the matter. The 3rd heaven's tribulation was simple. There were only 3 stages. The first one was lightning, the second one was fire, and the third one was soul. The first 2 heaven's tribulations were fine. Unlure managed to survive. Her robe was torn, but the inner armor Luli gave her was fine. Unlure cultivated diligently. She had a solid foundation. Everything went smoothly. The 3rd heaven's tribulation went wrong. As soon as the tribulation of soul came, Unlure lost her mind. Her facial expressions became ferocious. She waved her saber and shouted, "Kill you, I will kill you." Luli still didn't move. He just let Unlure scream and attack the surrounding hills with her saber. She looked like a little lunatic. After 4 hours, Unlure's divine energy and physical strength had been consumed. Her attacks became feeble. Her little face was grimmer. There was a red glow in her eyes. She looked terrifying. "Wake up!" It was only at this moment that Luli made his move. A thunderous shout sounded in Unlure's mind. The red glow in her eyes faded away, and her little body stopped trembling. Finally, she came to her senses. Boom! A bolt of colorful lightning struck down. It was auspicious. Unlure had passed the 3rd heaven's tribulation. Her face was pale, as if she had just recovered from a serious illness. After a while, she dragged her exhausted body to Luli. She knelt to Luli and said, "Thank you, Master. I am useless. Thank you for the trouble." Chapter 29:15. Time flew by. Flowers bloomed and wilted. Soon a year had passed. Luli and Unlure had been living in the small town for a year. Apart from that one time when the roving bandits attacked, nothing else happened. Luli had been cultivating under the ageless tree. The tree could absorb life energy from the outside, but it did not affect Luli. Unlure made 2 friends, the granddaughters of the mayor of the small town. Apart from them, Unlure would talk to the puppy and spend the rest of her time cultivating. With the 2 friends, Unlure was not as autistic as before. Even though she was still cold, she would smile every now and then. She was back to her normal self. Apart from giving her some elixirs, some pellets with positive properties, and some soul-nurturing pellets, Luli did not give her any guidance. Since she had reached the third stage, she must learn some fundamental principles and laws, which Enlure had to learn on her own. Luli had made some progress after a year of cultivation. That being said, the integration was complicated and it would take some time. It cannot be rushed. Luli was ready to leave. It was pointless to stay here. He had chosen to stay for two reasons. For one, he could cultivate under the ageless tree, and for another, he wanted Enlure to stabilize and heal the trauma in her heart. "We have to go." Luli walked to Enlure and said, "Go and say goodbye to your friends." "Sure." Enlure was obedient. She did not ask any questions, nor did she ask where they were going. She threw a lonely look at her house and then walked toward the small town. A few steps later, she looked back at Luli and said, "Master, can I give him some elixirs?" Luli nodded slightly. Enlure put on a smile and quickly walked towards the town. After the time for several incense sticks to burn, Enlure came out. Her eyes were red, followed by the two girls. Another group of people came out from the small town. The mayor of the small town knew that Luli was leaving, so he came with a group of people to say goodbye. They knelt on the ground and thanked Luli for his kindness. Luli said nothing. After a moment, he asked Blood Fairy to set up a divine pattern. With this divine pattern, the small town could protect itself. Not even the average roving bandits or an abyssal warrior could break the divine pattern. When Blood Fairy was done, Luli gave the patriarch of the small town an artifact to control divine glyphs and then left with Enlure. Enlure held the puppy in her arms and looked reluctantly at the place where she lived. This cabin meant a lot to her. It was not only a cabin, but also her home. "You can't bear to?" Luli stopped and looked at her. Enlure nodded. Luli smiled and waved his hands. A ray of light came out from his hands. Then the entire ground near the cabin flew up and was put into his interspatial ring. Luli said lightly, "Let's go." Enlure put on a sweet smile and followed Luli to the distance. Luli didn't go back. Instead, he went to a big city to gather some information. Recently, there were some small conflicts in the southern war zone. The northern demon abyss launched 3 large-scale attacks, but they were all repelled by Taoist Master Tianzue and the others using powerful divine formations. The situation was very stable for the time being. Luli found a member of the chief family and asked him to send a message back to the city of Mystic Armor to inform Lu Ling and Yin Qingxi that he was safe. Then, Lu Li and Enlure continued to the west. He planned to go to an ancient site where there was a strange place. It was said that there were some marks of Tao there, but it was dangerous. Enlure needed to learn fundamental principle. The marks of Tao in the ancient site could help her quickly. Luli wanted to go to the ancient site to search for opportunities and insights as well. After teleporting for half a month, Luli arrived at a place called the Holy Prayer Ground. More than 1,000,000 years ago, a saint emperor once lived here. This saint emperor dominated half of the land of Ziyang. It was a pity that this saint emperor died and his family was wiped out. The ancient site Luli was going to was where this saint emperor's family used to be, the Holy Prayer Mountain. There were many treasures on the Holy Prayer Mountain, but after so many years, the mountain had been emptied. The treasures were gone, but some marks of Tao remained. It was said that some of the marks were where the saint emperor once cultivated. However, no one went to Holy Prayer Mountain to cultivate because something very strange had happened there. Every full moon, ghost soldiers and generals would appear there, and they were very powerful. Even a 6th tribulation martial artist could be easily killed there. Also, there was evil energy in the Holy Prayer Mountain. Cultivating there could lead to chi deviation. There were many rumors about the Holy Prayer Mountain. It was said that after the Saint Emperor passed away, he used a great skill to build ghostly soldiers and generals to protect his family. Some said that the Saint Emperor cursed the land, making it an ominous place. Those living there would fall into evil ways and never be able to rise again. Luli didn't believe these rumors at all. Everything existed for a reason, and there had to be a reason for this situation to occur. He was going to the Holy Prayer Mountain to find out the reason and the answer. At the same time, he would pursue his path. When he arrived at the Holy Prayer Mountain, he let Unrivaled out from his interspatial ring and walked up the mountain with her. The mountain was huge and gloomy. Luli wanted Unrivaled to feel this, so that she could be brave and not be afraid of these evil things. Phew, inside the mountain, there was a constant gust of chilly wind, like ghosts crying and wolves howling. Unrivaled shrank. She was frightened. She grabbed Luli's clothes out of instinct. "Are you afraid?" Luli looked down at her. Unrivaled nodded and then shook her head. Luli said with a smile, "You have seen the remnant soul of your great-grandpa, right?" Unrivaled's eyes were filled with pain and hatred. She nodded again. Luli explained, "The remnant soul of your great-grandpa is actually a ghost. Ghosts are, after all, the remnant soul of a warrior. Some ghosts have some obsession in their hearts. They didn't vanish after death, and their remnant souls remained in the world. In other words, ghosts are no different from spirits and beasts in soul form. They might not even be as powerful as some beasts in soul form. If so, why should we be afraid? As long as we are powerful enough, we can just kill them, no matter how evil they are. As long as we have righteousness in our hearts, no ghost can invade us." When Luli said this, there was a trace of Emperor's might. As far as Unrivaled was concerned, Luli was like a god. Luli could defeat even the king of hell, let alone some ghosts. "Master, I see." At this moment, Unrivaled's delicate body stopped trembling and her eyes became determined. Luli nodded slightly. Not only did Unrivaled have a nature-defying constitution, but her power of understanding was also very high. She was a fine jade in the rough. "Go ahead." Luli thought about it and decided to build up Unrivaled's courage. He pointed to the road in front of him and said. Unrivaled trembled a bit. She made up her mind and walked forward. Luli kept up with her after she walked for more than 100 feet. He would follow after Unrivaled, always keeping a distance of more than 100 feet. Chapter 29:16. An 8-year-old girl was walking alone in the deep mountains. It was dark around her, and there would be chilly wind blowing from time to time. Even though Luli was following her, it was still a test of courage. Unrivaled was born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She was treated like a princess by the Yin family since she was a child. Nobody made her suffer. Over the past year, she had fallen from heaven to hell. It was too cruel for Luli to do this to a little girl. Unrivaled clenched her teeth, looked around with her eyes wide open, and walked forward step by step. Young as she was, she knew this was a test from Luli. She trusted Luli unconditionally. She had no choice. Apart from Luli, who else could she trust now? Unrivaled was scared. She was trembling. She looked back from time to time, fearing that Luli was no longer behind her, fearing that Luli had abandoned her. She tried hard to hold back her tears. She plucked up her courage and walked forward step by step. The path of a powerful warrior is a lonely path and a painful one. Luli's voice sounded in Unrivaled's ears, giving her a second lesson. If you want a superior and comfortable life, you can stop. I will send you back to my family. As my apprentice, you can live a carefree life. You can grow up happily and marry the person you want to marry. But if you want to be a powerful warrior, then forget about your identity as a lady of the Yin family. Forget that you are a girl. You can only be a warrior. Billions of living beings form a pyramid, with experts standing at the very top. Everyone wants to climb to the top with all their might. How can you climb up when there are so many people competing? You may say that you are talented, but others may work 10 times harder than you and be 100 times more ruthless. On your way up, you will encounter all kinds of things and all kinds of crises. I can help you avoid detours, but you still have to walk on the road. If a person wants to achieve something, he or she must be diligent, courageous, talented, persistent, self-disciplined, temperament, and luck. You can choose to step back and live a peaceful life of mediocrity, or you can keep going. Going doesn't mean you will succeed, but if you don't, you will have no hope of success. Luli's voice continued. There were many words that Unrivaled might not understand, but Luli was forcing them into her ears. Because she was now a blank piece of paper, it was the best time for her to grow. Once this blank piece of paper was filled with words, it would be very difficult to change her. I choose to walk on, and lure ponder for the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, and a determined look appeared on her small face. The revenge of the extermination of her clan supported her and gave her an inexplicable strength. At this moment, she forgot her fear, forgot everything, and walked forward step by step with incomparable determination, never looking back. He had an adopted son, Lewin, but he did not spend much time with Lewin, and they did not have much affection for each other. Lewin, on the other hand, was closer to Jiang Qiling and the other twins. He had not lived within Lure for a long time, but Luli felt she was his daughter. A master for a day was a father for life. A master had the responsibility of a father. And Lure was obedient, sensible, smart, and beautiful. Luli was overwhelmed with fatherly love. Soon, Lure settled down. Because Luli had moved the cabin over, she felt like her home was here. Wherever Luli was would be her home. She soon got used to it, even though the cabin was spooky. She sat on the floor with her legs crossed to cultivate. As soon as she did, she felt something special. This was once the place where a powerful warrior cultivated. There were deep marks of Taoist principles here. She was smart and had a special constitution. She sensed it right away. She had a strong desire to become stronger. Apart from revenge, she had nothing else on her mind. She would not let go of such a good opportunity. She began to cultivate at once. Luli looked at Lure with appreciation again. Then, he began to cultivate as well, waiting for the day of the full moon. Time flew by in cultivation. Soon, 8 days had passed. The moon was hanging high in the sky, but the Holy Prayer Mountain was even spookier. Cold wind was blowing, making people feel cold. More importantly, there was a faintly discernible chi and energy spreading out, making people's hair stand on end and their pores shrink. Lure woke up from her cultivation. She was a child after all. She quickly walked into the cabin, carried the puppy to Luli, and sat down with her legs crossed. She looked around with her pearl-like eyes. Luli opened his eyes, smiled, and said, "Don't be afraid. Let me see how I deal with these demons and ghosts." Luli said there were demons and ghosts because he sensed a trace of chi and energy, the chi and energy of demons and demons. Chapter 29:17. With the mark of Tao, Luli's senses were powerful and sharp. He had been in contact with demons many times, so he was familiar with their chi and energy. He didn't make a move right away. He wanted to see what the demon was up to. Woo-woo, the wind was getting stronger and stronger. This was not an average wind. It was going straight to the heart, and there was a sinister chi and energy. Average warriors would have run away in fear. Luli was at the Emperor realm, so he was not afraid. Lure was a bit scared, but she gained some confidence, seeing how calm Luli was. She held the saber Luli gave her in her hand and glanced around, ready to take action at any time. Woo-woo-woo, the wind was getting stronger. Suddenly, dark clouds appeared in the sky. The entire mountain was darkened, and the sinister chi and energy were getting stronger. Lure's face turned pale. Inevitably, there was fear in her eyes. It was getting darker and darker. Dark fog appeared in the mountain as well. From the dark fog came a surge of horrifying chi and energy, as if there were ghosts lurking in the fog. Finally, Lure could not help but grab Luli's arm. Luli said with a light smile, "Lure, remember, the real remnant souls of ghosts are not scary. It is the people that are scary. The more mysterious it is, the less likely it is the remnant souls of ghosts. It is humans. Humans can only be scared to death by scaring others." Humans did it? Lure blinked in confusion. Luli thought about it and said, "Not exactly. He has made himself half human and half ghost. He is an old demon that has fallen into evil ways." Bang, 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 a series of footsteps could be heard. The footsteps sounded like an orderly army running. Moreover, there were many footsteps, and they could be heard from all directions. It was as if countless armies were running in this direction. Lure was even more frightened. She could see some warriors in black armors faintly in the dark fog. But those warriors were all dead. They had green faces and sharp fangs. Their eyes were red, and their faces were covered with black lines. It was a horrifying sight, and Lure was so close to Lu Li that she almost hugged him. Lu Li thought about it and put his arms around Lure. He said with a smile, "Don't be afraid. These are all illusions, but they have a trace of soul energy that can affect people's souls. This is a good illusion formation." Boom, boom, boom. The Een soldiers and Een generals began to charge forward. At a glance, there were Een soldiers and Een generals everywhere. Terrifying Een chi filled the air, and ordinary people would probably be scared to death. Lu Li sneered. He raised his hand and released several palm strikes to all sides. Boom, 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 boom. Lu Li's handprint was powerful. The powerful chi and energy scattered the nether warriors. And Lure was surprised at first, and then looked at Lu Li with admiration. Her little body stopped trembling. With Lu Li by her side, she would be fine even if the sky fell down. Boom, boom, boom. Ghost soldiers and generals kept coming, and there were some ferocious-looking monsters. All of them were illusions, and Lu Li could shatter them easily. Lu Li didn't go after the demon. Instead, he waited to see what kind of tricks it could play. After the thousands of nether warriors and generals were shattered by Lu Li, the demon must have realized this was not enough. It stopped controlling the nether warriors and generals to attack. Then the ground began to tremble. A ruin in front of Lu Li burst open. A ferocious creature crawled out from underground. It had a strong, evil chi and energy. It had 3 eyes, and each of them seemed to be able to steal souls. Lure was frightened by what she saw. Lu Li covered her eyes with his hand and said, "Don't look. This monster is not an illusion. It is an underground creature. It does have the ability to hook souls. If you look at it for too long, your soul will be hooked away." Seeing that the nether warriors and generals could not scare Lu Li away, the demon used a big one. The demon did have some abilities. Not only was its soul attack powerful, but its physical attack was also comparable to a warrior of the Sixth Tribulation. Lu Li didn't want to fight this kind of demon. He released his soul of wind and launched a powerful soul attack. The beast fell to the ground and its soul was destroyed by Lu Li. How is this possible? A growl came from the belly of the beast. Lu Li sneered and said, "What else do you have? Use them all at once." "Eh." From the beast came a sound of surprise. Then the belly of the beast burst open. An old man in a blood-red robe dashed out. The old man's face and body were covered in blood-red tattoos. He looked neither human nor ghost. Standing next to the beast, he stared at Lu Li with his red eyes and said, "Young man, I advise you to leave at once. Otherwise, you will be cursed and end up like me. You will be trapped in this ominous place forever." "Is that so?" Lu Li shrugged with a faint smile and said, "I like challenges. I want to see how I can be cursed and trapped. Since you won't listen to me, then stay here forever. Stay with me and guard this land of ruins." The old demon said coldly. He stomped on the ground, and the ground lit up. It was a ray of cyan and red light. Many abandoned castles lit up as well. It was pitch dark here. The cyan and red light made the place even more horrifying. In addition to the light, runes were glowing in the air, underground, and on the walls of the castles. The runes were moving around. In some places, ghost fires were dancing. This place was like a city of the dead, a city from hell. Not only was it horrifying, but the runes were also imbued with strong energy. The runes were moving toward Lu Li and Lure, surrounding him and Lure. Lu Li smiled but did nothing. He told Blood Fairy to go underground. Average warriors might not be able to tell what it was, but Lu Li was a master of rune formations. He could see through it easily. Boom! In the time for 10 breaths, the ruins of several castles exploded. Then, the runes dispersed. The dark air in the sky dispersed as well. The cyan and red light faded away. Before her evolution, Blood Fairy was already a master in rune formations. After her evolution, her ability to crack formations had increased by 10 times. The formations here were not bad, but they were nothing for Blood Fairy. What? Finally, The old demon was scared. His methods, which had always worked, were ineffective against Lu Li. The old demon knew that he had encountered a powerful warrior, one that he could not defeat. The old demon turned into a blur and was about to run away. "Why don't you try?" Lu Li glared at the old demon coldly. The might of an emperor emerged from him. His eyes glowed as he shouted, "Believe it or not, I will destroy your soul." "Emperor?" The old demon sensed that something was amiss and was completely frightened at this moment. He revealed himself and knelt on the ground, shouting, "Great Emperor, please spare my life. Please spare my life." This old man had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai and offended Great Emperor, "Please punish me." Lu Li moved and lured his hand away. She was not afraid anymore. She stared at the old demon with disgust. Just now, she was scared out of her wits. Chapter 29:18. The demon didn't dare to run anymore. He knew that Lu Li could kill him in a second. If he dared to run, he would be killed in an instant. Lu Li patted and lure's back, and she stood up. The demon knelt down as Lu Li did. Lu Li said coldly, "Tell me, why are you playing tricks here?" The old fiend's eyes flickered, and he explained in a low voice, replying to Great Emperor, "This old man cultivates here all year round and can't go anywhere else. Therefore, I don't wish for anyone to disturb this place. Therefore, every time someone comes here, I scare them away. This time, I don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I have offended you. Please forgive me." "Cut the crap." Lu Li snorted and said, "Do you really think I am that easy to fool? What is under the ruins?" The demon's pupils contracted. Soon he calmed down and said, "Your Majesty, what are you talking about? I don't understand." Buzzing. A golden glare flickered in Lu Li's eyes. Thousands of soul energy shot out and gathered in the demon's mind. They turned into many powerful soul needles and pierced into the demon's soul. The demon's soul was protected by an enchanted soul, but it was not of a high level. Lu Li broke through the defense at once. The demon hugged his head and rolled around on the ground. Your Majesty, spare me, spare me." The demon's soul was hurt. He was smoking from the pain. He rolled around on the ground, howling and wailing. His face was twisted in pain. Unlure, who was standing next to him, felt sorry for him. She turned her head away. "Don't turn away. Watch carefully." Lu Li looked at Unlure coldly and said, "You must be cruel to your enemies. Otherwise, you won't even know how you die. Many people in the world will take advantage of your kindness. If you don't understand the situation, you will die a miserable death." Unlure was stunned. She turned around and watched Lu Li torturing the demon. The demon had been begging for mercy, but Lu Li had no intention of stopping. He didn't stop until he tortured the demon for an hour. Lu Li looked at the demon with a smile and said, "Now, can you be honest? If you don't speak, the next attack will probably make you stay here forever." I'll talk." The old demon weakly said, "There's an underground palace below with a total of 9 floors. I have cracked the first 8 floors, but I haven't cracked the last one yet. This demon is the tomb guardian beast of the 8th floor. It has been subdued by me. At least you're honest." Lu Li sneered. When the underground creature came out, Lu Li had sensed the fluctuation of divine runes underground. Since the underground creature came out from underground, it must have been hiding underground. The energy of that underground creature was strong. If it were not for the protection of the divine pattern, Lu Li would have sensed it. "Lead the way." Lu Li waved his hand and held Unlure's hand. The old demon hurriedly took Lu Li into the hole that the underground creatures had emerged from. On the other hand, Lu Li sent Blood Fairy to explore the way. With Blood Fairy around, no runes could trap him. Lu Li felt the divine patterns after he went underground for 3,000 miles. He was in no hurry to enter. Instead, he waited for Blood Fairy to send him a message. A moment later, Blood Fairy replied, "Master, come down. There's a hall here. Many divine patterns have been cracked. It is safe." Lu Li rushed into the hall with Unlure. Fearing that Unlure would be frightened, Lu Li took out a luminous pearl to light up the surroundings. This hall was very luxurious, and it was very likely that it was built by that same emperor. However, many places had been destroyed, and there were even large holes in some of the walls. All the treasures in the hall had been taken away. Luli was not particularly thirsty for treasures now. It was the first time for Enlure to come to such a place. She looked around with curiosity. Luli held Enlure's hand and walked inside. The old demon led the way in front of them obediently. Inside the hall, they saw a door and a stone staircase leading down. The old demon led Luli down. There were many levels here. Each level had an inner hall, an outer hall, and a side hall. But there were no treasures here. The old demon must have taken them away. They went to the 8th level. They could see some things in the hall. The old demon must be living on this level. The old demon led Luli into the inner hall. Pointing to the staircase, the old demon said, "Emperor, I have been deciphering the divine patterns here for 30 years, and I have not been able to crack them. I do not know what is in there." Blood Fairy had been here for a while, and she had been investigating. Luli walked around and observed, waiting for Blood Fairy to crack the divine patterns. The divine patterns here were strong, but Luli believed that Blood Fairy could crack them. Even if the divine patterns here were built by Saint Emperor, it had been over 1,000,000 years. The divine patterns must have weakened. Blood Fairy should be able to crack them. He was right. After half an hour, Blood Fairy said, "Master, the divine inscriptions here are very strong, but I can still decipher them. But I need time, about half a month." "Okay." Luli nodded. Looking at Enlure, he said, "Let's go up and come back in half a month. Demon, you come with me. Stay here for half a month." Enlure would not doubt Luli's words. But the old demon was confused. Why did Luli ask him to go up for half a month? Come back in half a month? Could the divine patterns be cracked in half a month? The old demon had been here for over 100 years. He had been deciphering the divine patterns on the 9th level for 30 years. How could Luli crack them in half a month? He didn't need to stay here in person. Luli did not explain to the old demon. He went up with Enlure and told her to cultivate. Pointing to an abandoned palace, Luli said to the old demon, "Stay here. Don't disturb us and don't think about running away." With that said, Luli began to cultivate and paid no more attention to the old demon. The old demon went to the abandoned palace, feeling wronged. He was afraid to go anywhere or make a sound. He was nervous, not knowing how Luli would deal with him in the end. Half a month went by in the blink of an eye. Blood Fairy came up from below and said, "Master, I've cracked it. The 9th floor is the tomb of an expert, but there's a powerful devil soul guarding it. I don't dare go down." The tomb of a powerful warrior? Luli was delighted. Could it be the tomb of that Saint Emperor? Then there must be holy weapons down there. He didn't expect to find such a pleasant surprise in this place. Enlure. Luli stood up at once. He told Enlure something and put her into the separation bead. Then he slapped at the old demon with source energy. "Ah, mercy, your majesty." The old demon yelled in fear. Luli did not show any mercy. Leaving the old demon alive would be a source of trouble. Luli was about to go to the 9th level, and he did not want to be distracted. What if the old demon was up to something? Therefore, before he went on the treasure hunt, he must kill the old demon to avoid future troubles. Boom. Chapter 29:19. The runes on the 9th floor were broken. Standing at the entrance, Luli could smell the smell of decay and filth. This place had been sealed off for many years, so it was normal for there to be such a smell. Luli stood there and tried to sense what was going on. He could only sense what was going on in the outer hall. The outer hall on the 9th floor was luxurious with many furnishings and some totem poles. On the walls, there were all kinds of reliefs. It was quite mysterious. Luli walked down after a while. He walked to the gate of the outer hall. He had a sense of danger which came from the inner hall. It seemed that the enchanted soul in the inner hall was powerful. It had cultivated for so many years that it might have become a spirit. Luli could not afford to be careless. He released the armor of origin energy and the soul-devouring skill at the same time, ready to defend against the enchanted soul. He pushed open the gate of the inner hall slowly. As soon as he did, He heard a shrill scream that was ear-piercing. Then, a cloud of dark fog came over and enveloped him. Luli clearly felt something strange had entered his body and was rushing toward his soul. It really is an enchanted soul, and it must be of the 9th rank. Luli immediately used the soul-devouring skill. His soul was so strong that he was not afraid of the enchanted soul of the 9th rank. Through his perception, he could clearly sense that there was a strange beast rampaging through his soul, and it was fighting against the tens of thousands of demons condensed from his soul power. At the same time, Luli's dragon's soul joined the fight and attacked the enchanted soul of the beasts. Luli was relieved. His soul was strong now. If his soul were at the initial stage of the Emperor realm, he would not be able to stand the enchanted soul. Not only was the enchanted soul of the 9th rank, it must have mutated and its attacks were ferocious. It was a pity that Luli's soul energy was abundant and the soul energy was condensed together, making it powerful. Many beasts formed from soul energy had been destroyed by the enchanted soul. But Luli's soul energy was strong enough that he could generate more. At the moment, the enchanted soul was being surrounded by the beasts formed from soul energy. Luli could feel the weakening. Ha! Luli smiled to himself. When the 9th rank enchanted soul was completely destroyed, there would be pure and powerful soul energy left. He might not be able to absorb it, but the dragon's soul could. By then, the dragon's soul might evolve. Time passed bit by bit. After waiting for more than a day, the 9th grade demon soul was completely annihilated. All the remaining soul power was absorbed by the dragon's soul. The dragon's soul also returned to the soul and went silent. It was unknown whether it could evolve or not. Luli opened his eyes at this moment and walked in. Inside was a small inner hall with an ancient bronze coffin and a few stone tables in the middle. Apart from that, there weren't many other decorations. Luli looked at a small stone tablet next to the bronze coffin. There were some words carved on it. It was an ancient language that Luli could understand. It was the record of the life of the person in the tomb. Luli was disappointed. It was not the Saint Emperor that was buried in the coffin, but the Saint Emperor's son, a warrior of the Emperor realm. If he was of the Saint Emperor realm, then he might not have a holy weapon. Luli looked at the stone tables nearby. There were 3 interspatial rings on them. Clearly, they were left behind by the owner of the coffin. He put the treasures here because he didn't want anyone to open the coffin and destroy his body. Luli walked over and picked up the first interspatial ring. He lost interest after a quick glance. Inside the interspatial ring were all materials. There were many of them, but many of them were spoiled. Luli supposed there were not many useful materials left. Luli took over the second interspatial ring. Inside were some books that recorded various skills. Luli was interested in this one. It was not that he wanted to cultivate. It was just that there were many skills here that could be passed down to the Lu family. The third interspatial ring was empty except for one piece of treasure. It was a bead, semi-transparent and the size of a thumb. Luli wondered what it could be used for. Buzzing. Luli took out the bead. He studied it for a while and was surprised. Clearly, it was not a holy weapon or an imperial weapon. Rather, it was more like a bead that existed naturally, not something that was forged. The bead did not have any strong energy or energy. It seemed to be an average white pearl. Luli observed it for a while. He tried to consume it with divine energy, but the bead gave no reaction. Luli used some more sources of energy. 2 hours later, nothing happened. What is this? Luli was puzzled. The son of a saint emperor must have put the bead in his interspatial ring. It must be something valuable, but he couldn't see where the treasure was. Blood Fairy, come out and have a look. See what this bead is. Luli asked Blood Fairy to take a look. What if there were some powerful formations in the bead? Blood Fairy reached into the bead with her tentacle. As soon as she touched the bead, she pulled back and said, "Master, this bead is dangerous. I cannot touch it. It is harmful to my soul." Luli was surprised. He thought for a moment and poured soul energy into the bead. This time, the white bead reacted. The bead glowed. Do I have to consume soul energy? Luli blinked. All his soul energy was absorbed by the bead. He paused for a moment and then continued to pour in soul energy. The bead continued to absorb soul energy and glowed brighter. Eventually, it disappeared in Lu Li's hand. Well, Lu Li checked. The bead had entered his soul, right next to the holy soul bead. At the moment, Lu Li had a spiritual connection with the bead. The nameless bead was in his soul, but Lu Li still did not know what the bead could be used for. The bead did not absorb his soul energy. It just floated in his soul quietly. Lu Li checked for a moment and sent out a strand of his primary soul to check the bead. This was risky. The primary soul was not soul energy. If the bead devoured him, he would lose his soul. Everyone had 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls. Losing 1 spiritual and 1 physical soul would lead to problems. Even if the person could survive, he would become mentally retarded or lose his memory. Lu Li believed that since he had consumed the bead and there was a spiritual connection with him, it would not hurt him. If it really wanted to hurt his soul, the bead would do so right now. When a strand of his primary soul went in, he found it was a strange, small world. It was nothing but chaos. His primary soul was not harmed. Instead, it seemed to be nourished and nurtured. Lu Li also had another feeling. That strand of his primary soul seemed to have disappeared from the world. The other strands of his soul could not sense that strand of his primary soul. He felt his soul was divided into 2. He could still multitask at the moment. Buzzing, he controlled the strand of his primary soul to sneak out of the bead at once. Only now did his soul become whole. He was relieved. The bead was so strange that it could divide his soul. No, this is a treasure. Lu Li suddenly came to his senses. The bead was of little use during normal times, but it could be a piece of God's artifact during the tribulations. Chapter 29:20. He broke into a hall and found a treasure, but it was a relic for tribulation. If Lu Li had this relic, he wouldn't have to worry about the soul tribulation. But for Lu Li, the relic was meaningless. He could reach the Saint King realm after one more heaven tribulation. Lu Li felt he was still a long way from reaching the Saint King realm. He knew very well that to reach the Saint King realm required more than cultivation. There must be many other factors. Otherwise, none of the warriors of the great Emperor realm could reach the Saint King realm after so many years. The immortal of Sin only became a Saint King after being locked up by a mysterious person for 60,000 years. Therefore, the bead was of no use to Lu Li at the moment. Lu Li thought for a while, looked around, and left. There might be treasures in the coffin, but Lu Li would not do such a thing. He didn't yearn for holy weapons or anything like that. Treasures were external things. If there was such a chance, then it would be good to have one. If not, then there was no need to force it. Back on the ground, Lu Li let him lure out. She looked around and couldn't help but ask, "Master, where is that old demon? Kill him," Lu Li said with a calm expression. Unlure was confused, but she didn't ask. Lu Li threw her a glance and said, "Do you think it is not right to kill him now that you didn't kill him before?" "No." Unlure shook her head. The embarrassment on her face betrayed her. Lu Li said seriously, "The old demon was alone. I would not kill him if there was no reason. Even at the 3rd heaven, I would not kill him even if he provoked me. At best, I would send him to the theater of operations to serve. But this old demon is no longer a human. He's been demonized. Therefore, he is no different from a beast. Of course, I cannot let him live, or he will bring disaster to the world." Unlure nodded and said, "It is my fault. I know I am wrong. Go and cultivate." Lu Li waved his hand. He thought about it and said, "There is no more danger around here. You can cultivate here. I will take a look around. Don't worry. I will stay on the mountain, and I will not go far. I will not leave you behind." Unlure was terrified. He looked at Lu Li and said nothing in the end. He sat on the wooden plank with his legs crossed and cultivated. Lu Li stood there for a moment and then walked over slowly. First, he went to a place with Taoist marks nearby, where Unlure could see him. After watching for 2 to 3 days, he wandered around, but his spiritual will occasionally swept over. At first, and Lure was a little uneasy about cultivating, but she was very adaptable and was able to calm down and cultivate very quickly. There were dozens of marks of Tao in the ruins. Lily would spend some time studying each one. He might not necessarily try to learn the fundamental principle, but it was beneficial for him to do so. Soon, 2 months had passed. Luli had traveled around the area and visited many places. He had learned something, but it was nothing. He went back to Enlure's side to cultivate. Enlure's perception was heaven-defying. At this moment, she had already comprehended a true meaning, and it was a pretty good one. She was cultivating hard and would not come out of seclusion to rest unless she was particularly exhausted. Luli continued to study the soul integration skill. Enlure spent 4 months to completely understand the fundamental principle. Luli came out as well. He noticed that Enlure had lost some weight recently. Luli decided to leave. Even though Enlure was a warrior who had undergone 3 trials, she was still a child. She needed good food, a good environment to grow up and to integrate into society. Otherwise, her personality would become abnormal. Luli thought about it for the time, for half an incense stick to burn, and decided to go back. He had wanted to pursue his own path, but it would not be so easy. It would take him a long time. For Luli, 3 to 5 years was not a long time. Even 8 to 10 years was normal. However, Enlure was different. She was growing at the moment, which was also the most critical period of her growth. Luli thought about it and decided to go back. It was not easy to learn the fundamental principle. Now that he had mastered the soul integration skill, it was only a matter of time before he went back. It was pointless to cultivate here. Let's go. I will take you back to my home. That will be your home as well. Luli patted Enlure's head, and she nodded. She had been living with Luli for such a long time that she had seen him as a family member. Sometimes, Luli even made her feel fatherly love. Holding Enlure's hand, Luli flew up and flew towards the city. Now that he had decided to go back, he didn't hide his identity anymore. He sped up to the top of his speed and flew toward the city in a blur. It didn't take long before they arrived at the city. Luli took Enlure into the city. First, they found a tavern to take a bath. Then, they went to eat. Afterward, they went to buy dozens of beautiful clothes for Enlure. Luli asked Enlure to have a good sleep before he teleported to the Ziyang city. There is a spatial gate of the Qi family that could teleport him to the Cold Haze city directly. Luli didn't even bother to pay a visit to Emperor Candleheaven when he arrived at the Cold Haze city. He teleported back to the Mystic Armor city directly. Emperor Candleheaven was one of Luli's targets that he had to kill. He had always harbored ill intentions toward Luli. Now that a mortal guilty was here and Luli himself had reached the Emperor realm, he wasn't afraid to fall out with Emperor Candleheaven. Family Patriarch is back. Greetings, Family Patriarch. As soon as Luli teleported to the Mystic Armor City, the Lu family army in the city was excited. Many people got down on one knee and saluted Luli. Civilians in the city knelt down as well. Everyone looked at Luli with admiration and respect. The Lu family was what it was today because of Luli. In the Lu family, Luli was an immortal, the invincible god of war of the Lu family. Enlure looked around with curiosity and timidly stood behind Luli. She was afraid of crowded places, especially when this was Luli's home. She was afraid that Luli's family wouldn't like her. Master, you are loved and respected. Enlure smiled to see so many people kneeling on the ground with passion in their eyes. She felt honored that these people respected and admired Luli. Let's go. I will take you home. Luli took Enlure's hand and walked toward the Lu mansion. His voice was not loud, but many people could hear him. At first, many people felt strange about Enlure, but now they understood. They looked at Enlure with gentleness. Luli's apprentice was the future master of the city of Mystic Armor. Respect must be shown. Before Luli and Enlure arrived at the Lu mansion, a group of people were standing outside. Many of the Lu family, including some of Luli's wives and concubines, had come out. Luli had been away for so many years. Everyone missed him. Darling, Inqingxi was the first to walk over. She was surprised to see Lu Li holding a doll-like girl's hand. Did Lu Li have an illegitimate daughter? Lua, this is Lady Een. Lu Li smiled and then introduced her to Enlure. Enlure bowed shyly and said, "Greetings, Mistress Een. May you be in good health." Ah, Een Qingxi was surprised. Then, a smile blossomed on her face. She held Enlure's hand and said, "Darling, where did you get such a pretty apprentice? She is a 3 trials heaven immortal? Your name is Lure, right? Don't be afraid. I will take you out to eat." Bai Qiuxue, Bai Xiaoshuang, Prajna, and Qi Shi'er came over as well. They were dying to have children. Now that Lu Li had brought back such a pretty girl, they were overwhelmed with motherly love. They came over and asked about Lu Li's well-being. Lu Li introduced them to Enlure one by one. Enlure bowed to them. She was born in a big family and had learned the standard etiquette of a young lady. Bai Qiuxue and the others liked her even more after she bowed to them. Chapter 29-21. The arrival of Enlure brought some liveliness to the backyard of the Lu family. They had been yearning for children for years, but Lu Li could not make them pregnant. They were eager but powerless. Lu Li took Enlure as his protege and told everyone about her background, which made them feel even more sorry for the poor girl. Enlure was intelligent. She was a man of few words, but she never forgot her manners. Maybe it was because she loved Lu Li's wife. She respected all the master's wives from the bottom of her heart. As a result, Lu Li's wives and concubines doted on her. Even though Lu Li had bought beautiful clothes for Enlure, they didn't fit her well. A group of people would take her to have clothes made, take her to wander around the city, go to the best restaurants, and give her the best elixirs for cultivation. Enlure was being doted on by many. Lu Li didn't mind. He let Xiang Linglong take care of Enlure's cultivation. Since their bodies were similar, Enlure could cultivate faster with Xiang Linglong. Lu Li didn't have much to teach Enlure for now. Xiang Linglong and the others were enough for her. He went into closed-door cultivation after a couple of days to focus on creating the skill to integrate souls. In this way, his abilities would soar as well. The city of mystic armor was in peace because of Lu Li's return. Even the Een family, Qi family, Xiang family, and the Hua family had settled down. The 5 families were of the same breath and branch. 3 of the families were connected by marriage with Lu Li. The Hua family patriarch and Lu Li were friends despite the difference in age. The Lu family was weak, but because of Lu Li, the Lu family had become the leader of the 5 families. Lu Li was not only an Emperor Realm warrior. He had a Saint King behind him. Boom! In a castle at the Floral Haze City, a small city next to the Cold Haze City, came a muffled sound. A jade table was smashed into pieces. Lu Li, you have gone too far, too far. Zhu Fan's expressions were twisted. How could he not know that Lu Li had come to the city of mystic armor with Enlure? Zhu family had spies lurking in the city of mystic armor, and they sent back the news at once. Holy body of frigid shade. That was a body that could only be found once in 100,000 years. More importantly, it could be made into a good furnace to help him cultivate and stabilize his foundation. After Enlure went missing, he sent many people to search for her. Little did he expect that Lu Li would succeed. Disciple, Zhu Fan sneered in disdain. As far as he was concerned, Lu Li was trying to maintain his chastity after what he had done. Lu Li had many beautiful wives and concubines around him, including the Xiang family, the Qi family, and the Een family. The Pearl of the Dragon Rebel clan also had an ambiguous relationship with him. What brother and sister? Would anyone believe it? As far as Zhu Fan was concerned, Lu Li was planning to raise and lure her and then take her in as his apprentice. This was to avoid attention. It was as if Lu Li had taken away his treasures and his woman. The hatred of killing his father and stealing his wife. This was unbearable, not to mention that Zhu Fan was once the most powerful young master in the world. Now that he was suppressed by Lu Li, his reputation was ruined. He couldn't even walk around with his head held high. Originally, he was punished by Great Emperor Candleheaven to reflect on his mistakes in the clan. However, he behaved very well in the clan, and he had made some progress in his cultivation, So he found a few people to persuade Great Emperor Candle Heaven to allow him to come out and walk. Zhu Fan was sensible after he came out. The only thing he did that crossed the line was lure. He secretly killed her entire family, but didn't leave any evidence. Little did he know that at the risk of Great Emperor Candle Heaven's wrath, he failed on the verge of success. I will kill you. I will kill you. Luli, I will not let you live under the same sky. Zhu Fan yelled. He gritted his teeth so hard that they were making noises. Right at that moment, a faint voice came out, which made Zhu Fan's hair stand on end. You cannot kill Luli by shouting here. Not even your grandpa dares to touch him. You don't even think about it in this lifetime. Who is it? Zhu Fan took out his weapon. His eyes were filled with coldness. This castle was a secret castle of the Zhu family. Not many people would know about it. Also, he had activated the divine patterns. How could someone come in without him knowing? There were 2 warriors of the 6th tribulation outside. Young Master Zhu, don't worry. We have the same enemy. The voice continued. Then, the side door of the castle was opened. A man covered in a cloak came out. He was like a ghost. He walked without any sound. Zhu Fan used psychic power to check, but he could not see the man's face clearly. He walked in and said, Young Master Zhu, I mean you no harm. Otherwise, you would be dead by now. This place is close to the Lin Sun city, but it will be too late for Great Emperor Candle Heaven to get here. As for the 2 warriors of the 6th tribulation outside, they can't even tell I am here. Do you think they are a match for me? Zhu Fan didn't let his guard down. He stared at the man in the black robe and asked, Who are you? Does it matter who I am? The man in the black robe laughed in a low voice. Then he said in a cold voice, What matters is that we have the same enemy. My life was ruined by Lu Li. Killing Lu Li and getting revenge is my only wish. Zhu Fan deserved to be the former number 1 young master. He was not a fool. He was not blinded by hatred. He said, Of course it matters who you are. If you don't want to reveal your identity, please leave. I will pretend that this never happened. Ha ha ha. The black-robed man laughed heartily, and then very straightforwardly lifted his black robe, revealing a slightly pale but very young and handsome face. Zhu Fan took a few glances and was shocked. He said with his eyes wide open, Qi Tianyu, how are you still alive? How did you become so powerful? I am alive because Lu Li is not dead. Qi Tianyu's expressions became ferocious as he said, As for how I became so powerful, it is a long story. What I want to say is, I need your help. I want to kill Lu Li. Wait. Zhu Fan didn't answer Qi Tianyu. Instead, he looked at him carefully and said, You are not a pure-blooded human. Have you become a demon? Zhu Fan didn't think of the abyssal demons. After all, Qi Tianyu looked more like a pure-blooded human, and he didn't have a strong sense of the abyssal demons. Qi Tianyu smiled and said, That's none of your business. I have only met you once, and that was to kill Lu Li. You don't have to worry about anything else. After I kill Lu Li, my wish will be fulfilled. I will go back to the battlefields and die in battle. Zhu Fan's eyes flickered. Reason told him not to cooperate with Qi Tianyu. But in the end, hatred got the better of him. He asked, Are you sure you can kill Lu Li? He is an Emperor Realm warrior. You don't have to worry about that. Qi Tianyu waved his hand and said, You don't have to do anything. Just tell me Lu Li's whereabouts, and I will take care of the rest. Given your Zhu family's abilities and means, this shouldn't be difficult. I need a chance when Lu Li is alone. I see, Zhu Fan thought about it. This was a good deal because he didn't have to take any risks. It was not difficult to find out Lu Li's whereabouts because Emperor Candle Heaven had a large number of scouts under his control. Those scouts would report to him every day. The entire 3rd heaven could be collected. As long as Lu Li's whereabouts were not hidden on purpose, it was easy to find out. Deal. After some thoughts, Zhu Fan made up his mind and said, After all, it was Qi Tianyu who would do it. He was just passing on the information. Emperor Candle Heaven could protect him even if the truth was revealed. Good. Chapter 29-22. Lu Li never went out after he came back. He stayed in the mystic armor city and cultivated often. Every now and then, he would come out to spend time with the others and give some advice to Unlure. Unlure was worried that she would be discriminated against by Lu Li's juniors. After all, she was an outsider. She didn't expect that Lu Li didn't have any children. Instead, she became the princess of the Lu family. Children were like a piece of white paper, and Unlure's piece of paper wasn't fully drawn yet. Under the love of Lu Li's wives, the trauma in her heart slowly healed. His personality was no longer so abnormal, and he was starting to become a normal person. However, she did not forget the hatred in her heart. It was just hidden in the deepest part of her heart. She did not slack off because of everyone's love, nor did she become delicate. Instead, she trained even harder. She was even more well-mannered, often going to greet the mistresses of the Lu clan. She was also very polite to the people of the Lu clan, even to the servants. He never bullied others or put on airs just because he was Lu Li's apprentice. Lu Li even came out from cultivation once. He invited people of the Yin family, Qi family, Xiang family, and the Hua family to hold a ceremony. He had officially announced to the world that Unlure was his apprentice. All the families had sent gifts. Unlure's status was elevated. After all, she was Lu Li's first apprentice, and maybe she would be his last. In the northern battle zone, the demonic abyss would attack from time to time, and every time, they would be repelled. Taoist Tianzue had set up many divine rune arrays, and within these arrays, the human race would be strengthened, while the devil abyss would be weakened. In this situation, it would be much easier to repel the devil abyss. It wasn't that the demonic abyss hadn't considered bypassing this place and attacking the other continents. But once the demon abyss army moved, spiritual master Tianzue would lead the army all the way to the north, acting as if he was going to attack the northern plains continent. If spiritual master Tianzue were to invade the northern plains continent, the passage connecting to the demonic abyss would be destroyed, and all the demonic abyss soldiers would become rootless duckweeds. Sooner or later, they would be annihilated by the humans. Therefore, even if the powerhouses of the demonic abyss led an army to occupy the divine wind continent or other continents, what was the use? What was the point of slaughtering more human beings? If they wanted to completely occupy the third heaven, they would have to defeat the human race's experts and armies. Only then would they be able to achieve complete victory. In addition, the Xiao Yao army was wreaking havoc everywhere. As for Z, the back of the demon abyss was also unstable, so there was nothing he could do at the moment. He could only maintain a stalemate. Time passed by peacefully for 3 years. Lu Li came out from cultivation successfully. His face was glowing and he was smiling. Clearly, he had made a breakthrough. The Sword of Soul has finally succeeded. This is all thanks to the Reincarnation Emperor. Lu Li exhaled in relief. The skill he created had finally succeeded. It was based on the guidance of the Reincarnation Emperor. After so many years, Lu Li had succeeded. In the beginning, his soul attack was soul power. Later on, Tian Yazi taught him a secret art, which turned into soul needles. Later on, he obtained Soul Jade Emperor's soul secret art, and the soul needles fused together, turning into soul swords. Unlike divine energy, soul energy could not be integrated at will. Lu Li had spent a long time, traveled to many places, and learned many things before he succeeded. The soul attack turned into a soul sword. Lu Li believed that even a 9th-rank demonic soul would not be able to withstand it, unless there was a holy ranked demonic soul. But as far as he knew, apart from several top great emperors, the others only had 9th-rank demonic souls. In other words, he had the ability to kill most great emperors. Of course, that was all he had. Whether he could kill them or not was another matter. What if he was killed by other great emperors before he could release his soul attack? What if his soul attack could not lock onto the enemy? Which great emperor didn't have 1 or 2 powerful skills? There was another thing that delighted Lu Li. His dragon soul had leveled up. After consuming the remaining soul energy of that 9th-ranked demonic soul, it had been dormant for several years. A month ago, it finally woke up. Lu Li clearly felt that his dragon soul had become stronger. It must have reached the 9th rank. Lu Li decided to rest for a while and then go to the northern battlefront for a look. He was a human being. Everyone was fighting at the front line, and it would be unfair for him to enjoy his life. Immortal of Tianzue would be under pressure as well. Previously, Lu Li had been waiting for his abilities to improve. Now, he should be able to protect himself when he encountered Asmodeans. Therefore, Lu Li was ready to put some effort into actual combat. When he walked out, his wives who were not cultivating hurried over. Unlure came to greet him as well. In 3 years, Unlure had grown from 8 to 11 years old. She had grown from a little girl to a slim and graceful young lady. 11 was not an old age, but Unlure was well-fed, bathed in elixirs, and had a high realm. She had grown faster than average children. She had grown into a charming young lady. Greetings, master. Congratulations on coming out of seclusion. Unlure was about to kowtow to Lu Li when he waved his hand and said, "We don't have so many rules in our family. Don't kneel for no reason." Unlure stood up and served tea to Lu Li. Lu Li threw her a glance and asked, "Have you made any progress recently, master?" Unlure quickly replied with a straight face, "Recently, I have comprehended 2 quintessences. One is the power of frost of the ice attribute, which was obtained by Master's wife Xiang when she took me to comprehend a Tao pattern. The second true intent was what Master Yin brought me to the primitive mystic realm to comprehend. It is the earth attribute true intent of defense, which is also just at the entry stage. This disciple is prepared to comprehend these 2 true intents to the large success stage in these few years. Also, my divine energy, soul, and body have reached the peak of the 3rd tribulation. When I master the fundamental meaning, I could try to reach the 4th tribulation." "Okay," Lu Li nodded. He did not show it, but he was shocked. She was only 14, and she was about to reach the 4th tribulation? It had not been long since Jiang Qiling by Qiu Shue and Qi Shi'er had passed the 4th tribulation. She was a genius. When she was 100 years old, she could reach the 6th tribulation. She was even more talented than Xiang Linglong and Yin Qingxi. "Can you suppress the frosty energy in you?" Lu Li asked. "Thank you for your concern, master." Unlure smiled sweetly. She looked at Jiang Qiling and the others gratefully and said, "Madame Jiang, Madame Bai, Madame Qi, and Madame Prajna are concerned about me. They have given me a large amount of yang pellets. I can suppress the frosty energy easily." "Good." Lu Li nodded. He thought about it and said, "Don't be in a hurry. Cultivate for a year or 2 and build a solid foundation first. You should also read more books. Let your master's wives bring you around to train and kill some vicious beasts. It is not difficult for you to improve your realm, but you must remember that realm is not equal to abilities. Without strong abilities, you will not be able to reach the Emperor realm. Do you understand? Disciple will remember master's teachings." Unlure quickly replied with a straight face. Bai Xiaoshuang, who was at the side, smiled and said, "My husband, little Luer, is now the flower of winter. Many young masters admire her. Many young masters from rich and powerful families have already said that they want to propose marriage." "Ha ha ha." Lu Li laughed and waved his hand. "I don't care about that, but she is still too young. We will talk about it in a few years." Chapter 29-23. Lu Li stayed at the city of Mystic Armor for another month before he set off for the Flying Fire City. He planned to spend some time there to kill some abyssal warriors and powerful warriors. Lu Li was not worried that Unlure would stay at the city of Mystic Armor. After all, the fact that Unlure was his apprentice had been made known. Anyone who dared to harm Unlure would be fighting against Lu Li or the Immortal of Sin. Under such circumstances, anyone who dared to act rashly would be courting death. Not even Emperor Candle Heaven dared to do so. Before Lu Li left, he asked Blood Fairy to reinforce the formations in the city of Mystic Armor. Also, he built 3 rune formations in the Lu Mansion. Blood Fairy was now a grandmaster in the art of setting up arrays. Even an overlord would find it difficult to break the magic array she set up. There was a spatial gate within the Lu residence that was specially constructed by the Qi clan. If an expert attacked, the members of the Lu clan would be able to rely on the divine inscriptions to block the attack for a moment. If they really couldn't win, they could use the spatial gate to escape. Lu Li teleported away. After several rounds of teleportation, he arrived at the Flying Fireland. He went to see the Immortal of Sin at once. The Immortal of Sin had been staying at the Flying Fireland. He rarely took action unless the Abyssal Army came. "You are back." The Immortal of Sin looked at Lu Li with a smile. Lu Li cupped his fists and said, "I have been traveling for several years, and I have gained something. I have come back to serve you. It is a pity that I could not learn Tao." "Ha ha ha." The Immortal of Sin laughed. "Do you think it is that easy to learn Tao? Many great emperor warriors have been studying for hundreds of thousands of years without learning their own Tao. Some could never learn it in their entire lives. To become a sane emperor, you must learn Tao. I am just asking you to study when you have the chance, and see if you can find your own Tao. I am not asking you to learn Tao right away." Lu Li nodded. The Immortal of Sin asked, "Have you made progress in soul attacks?" Lu Li answered, "I have created a skill on the soul. It should be good." "Really?" The Immortal of Sin was interested. He waved his hand. "Come on, attack me. Don't worry. I will test it for you." Okay. After Lu Li created this skill, he had not tested its power yet. Since Immortal Tianzue was a saint emperor, he had nothing to worry about. Lu Li released the Sword of Soul at once. His eyes glowed in golden light. Streaks of invisible soul energy were released and integrated in Immortal Guilty's mind. In an instant, a sword of soul energy was formed and stabbed at Immortal Guilty's soul. Surprisingly, there was no enchanted soul inside the soul of the Immortal of Heavenly Sin. However, his soul gave Lu Li the feeling that it was like an ocean. Lu Li's sword of soul pierced into it, but nothing happened. Feeling that his soul sword had disappeared, Lu Li was a bit upset. He had thought that it would at least disturb the Immortal of Sky, Crime a little. Unexpectedly, there was no response. Taoist Heavenly Sin revealed a smile and nodded. "Not bad. Not bad at all." Lu Li was surprised. He asked at once, "The power is okay?" "Not bad." Spiritual Master Sky Sin said seriously. "An ordinary middle-stage emperor might not be able to withstand it, even with a 9th-grade demon soul. Of course, there is a weakness. It takes time to integrate it. I suggest you integrate it directly in your soul and release it suddenly. You can catch your enemies unprepared. Also, when you release your soul attack, you must keep a close distance. Otherwise, your enemies will be able to dodge it." "Thank you for your advice." Lu Li cupped his fists and asked, "Spiritual Master, I think the souls of Asmodeans are different. Were their souls?" The souls of Asmodeans could move. Last time, when Lu Li fought against one, it was the same. If he could not find the soul of the Asmodean, then no soul attack, no matter how powerful, would be of any use. The souls of Asmodeans are not fixed. Spiritual Master Sky Sin explained, "Their souls can move at any time. You can sense it carefully. Their souls have a special characteristic. There will be some fluctuation where the soul is a slight fluctuation. It is not the fluctuation of soul energy, but the fluctuation of space." "Fluctuation of space? I will remember that." Lu Li nodded. He cupped his fists and said, "Then I will go now. I will serve Emperor Xiaoyao for a while and kill more Asmodean Abyss warriors and powerful warriors." "Be careful." Spiritual Master Sky Sin warned. "There is no end to the Asmodean Abyss warriors. Retreat as soon as something goes wrong. You can fly, right? As long as the Asmodean Lord does not make a move, you'll have a good chance to escape." "Got it." Lu Li left and went to Emperor Xiaoyao. Emperor Xiaoyao happened to be recuperating at the Flying Cloud City, so he hadn't left yet. Lu Li went to Emperor Xiaoyao's castle. Emperor Xiaoyao received Lu Li at once. Emperor Xiaoyao was a proud man. He wouldn't pay attention to average people, but he was nice to Lu Li. Even though he didn't say much, the fact that Lu Li could sit and chat with him was proof of Emperor Xiaoyao's attitude. Emperor Xiaoyao wouldn't talk to average Asmodean Lord. Emperor Xiaoyao nodded with satisfaction when he heard that Lu Li was going back. He told Lu Li to cultivate and rest. In a month, Emperor Xiaoyao would set off again for the northern plains, also to destroy the Asmodeans. Asmodeans? The more Z was destroyed, the greater the loss at the abyss. Asmodeans? Z was not something that could be built easily. It would require a large amount of materials and manpower. Naturally, Lu Li wanted to contribute. He also wanted to see if his soul skill could kill the Asmodean. Therefore, he agreed readily and went back to an empty castle to cultivate. Soon, a month passed by. Emperor of Freedom secretly sent someone to summon Lu Li and asked him to meet at his secret castle. Every time, Emperor Xiaoyao would not mobilize too many people, only 1 or 200. Too many people would make it easier for something to go wrong. Every time before he set off, he would keep it a secret. If the Asmodean Lord were to set up a trap, even Emperor Xiaoyao wouldn't be able to come back. This time, only 100 people would go. The weakest among them was at the middle stage of the Sixth Tribulation, and they had life-saving skills. Those people didn't have to make many achievements. As long as they could come back alive, it would be a great victory. Same as before, I will take you to the northern plains. Then, you will split up in teams of 10. Emperor Unfettered said with a serious expression. For this mission, each team has to destroy 10 demons, which is the number of demons. Z, once you run into powerful enemies, run back. Yes, everyone obeyed. Emperor Xiaoyao took out a pagoda and then took them in. Everyone had absolute trust in Emperor Unfettered. Therefore, they were all taken in by Emperor Unfettered without any resistance. Emperor Unfettered sneaked out. With his ability, no one could discover his whereabouts except for immortal Tianze. He snuck out easily and went around the area occupied by the army of the abyss. Emperor Xiaoyao came and went like the wind. Except for the Asmodean Lord, the average Asmodean lords could not find him. Emperor Xiaoyao was so fast that he flew all the way. In just half a month, he had arrived at the northern plains. When he arrived at a safe place, he let the 100 people out. He thought about it and said, Lu Li, you come with me. The others can form teams. Chapter 29-24. Nobody dared to disobey Emperor of Freedom's order. The others formed teams of 10 and then 9. Emperor of Freedom had them spread out and hide in all directions, looking for a chance to attack. They would return to the Flying Fire continent after the mission was accomplished. The 100 warriors would bring jade talismans with them so that they could ask for help from each other in danger. Of course, it would be hard to save them once there was a crisis. Not many great emperors came this time. Apart from Emperor of Freedom and Lu Li, there was only one other great emperor. Emperor of Freedom left with Lu Li. An old man at the later stage of the Sixth Tribulation realm with an aquiline nose was disappointed. But soon, he looked away and followed his team. Emperor of Freedom was neither too fast nor too slow, but Lu Li had to speed up to the maximum to keep up with him. How fast was Emperor of Freedom? The Emperor of Freedom rushed all the way to the north. Was that where the Saint Demon was? That was where the Holy Demon was. Lu Li trusted Emperor of Freedom completely. He knew that Emperor of Freedom would not harm him. Lu Li didn't ask, and Emperor of Freedom didn't explain. The two of them ran all the way. Emperor Unfettered avoided the scouts of the Demon Abyss and the Demon Generals. It seemed that Z was determined to destroy the Holy Demon. Z, Holy Demon? Z was where the passageway to the Abyss of Demons was. If they could destroy the Holy Demon, it would be great news for the third heaven. The Abyss of Demons couldn't send reinforcements here, which meant that the Abyss of Demons were rootless. There would be one less Abyss of Demons to kill. Sooner or later, humans would wipe out all the Abyss of Demons. Of course, it was just a thought. Emperor of Freedom tried several times, but never succeeded. First of all, Asmodeans. There were many warriors and powerful warriors at Z, and there was a powerful formation there. More importantly, once they were attacked, Asmodean Lord would be teleported here at once. The front line of the Abyss of Demons could be teleported here directly. It would take Asmodean Lord at most half a day to arrive. 3 or 4 days later, they arrived at the Holy Demon. Near Z, Emperor of Freedom stated his purpose. He said, "This time, we are pretending to attack the holy demon. Then we will surround it and attack reinforcements to lure the nearby Asmodeans back. Kill the Asmodean lord and destroy the nearby Asmodeans. Kill 2 or 3 Asmodeans and destroy more than a dozen Asmodeans. We will leave after Z." "Got it." Luli nodded. Emperor of Freedom had made a good move. Holy demon? Z was the base camp of the Devil Abyss. The experts of the Devil Abyss would definitely attach great importance to it. Especially when the unfettered Emperor attacked, the experts of the Devil Abyss would definitely attach great importance to it. Demons nearby? Z's demon lord would definitely come to help. If Z was conquered, it would be a huge loss to Demon Abyss. Emperor Unfettered had been attacking armies from the Abyss of Demons at the Northern Plains for many years. He was experienced in this aspect. Naturally, Luli would listen to his orders. The two of them continued their pilgrimage to the Holy Demon, sneak over to Z and get close to the Holy Demon. The number of troops behind Z had increased, and there were scouts everywhere. It was much more difficult to advance forward. You go in from the east, I'll go in from the west. Pay attention. The attacks you release must be fierce and lethal. After a few rounds of attacks, immediately retreat to this point and meet up with me here. Wait here for 3 days. If I don't come, you're free to go. Emperor Unfettered took out a map and handed it to Luli, pointing to a point. Luli put away the map, looked at Emperor Unfettered, and said, "Lord, be careful. The fight against the Demon Abyss cannot be accomplished in 1 or 2 days. We must take it slow and protect ourselves." "Brat, you dare to lecture me?" Emperor Unfettered laughed. He waved his hand and said, "Don't worry. I have been at the Northern Plains for so many years. Even the Asmodean Lord tried to kill me more than 10 times, and I am still alive. Just take care of yourself. As soon as I start my attack, you do it immediately. The attack will last for the time, for at most half an incense stick to burn. Then you must leave." Luli nodded. Emperor Unfettered flew away in a breeze. Luli hid nearby and waited quietly. Time moved on. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, there came some noises of explosion from the west, followed by the roars of many powerful warriors of the Abyss of Demons. Emperor Unfettered has begun. A glint of coldness rose in Luli's eyes. He flew up. His robe was torn apart, revealing his scales. Dragon wings and a dragon tail grew out from his back. He also released armor of origin energy, dragon wrestling, and heaven armor. He took out a horn and blew it. At the same time, he released blades of origin energy in his other hand and hacked at the 3 directions in front of him. Roar, roar. Luli's powerful chi and blood alarmed many warriors of the Abyss of Demons. From all sides, many warriors rushed over, roaring, but before they could get close, they were enveloped by Luli's soul attacks. All of them tumbled and howled in midair. Boom, 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 boom. Luli's blades of origin energy whooshed on, killing many warriors of the Abyss of Demons. Luli dashed toward the Abyss of Demons, where countless warriors of the Abyss of Demons were coming out. The horn in Luli's hand blew even louder, and the blade of origin energy in his hand shot out even more furiously, almost without pause. Many warriors of the Abyss of Demons were killed. The casualties on the Abyss of Demons were tragic. 3 Asmodean lords came over in intangible form. For Luli, Asmodean lords were no threat. When the 3 Asmodean lords were about to attack, Luli released soul attacks at once. The 3 Asmodean lords were killed easily. Is this enough? Luli saw that he had killed thousands of warriors and 4 or 5 Asmodean lords. If he stayed here any longer, the Asmodean lords would come out. This was the holy Asmodean. Luli didn't dare to be too reckless. He released 3 more rounds of attacks and killed nearly 1,000 warriors of the Abyss of Demons before he left. His speed was still very fast. Perhaps because all the demon venerables were attracted by the unfettered emperor, there were no demon venerables chasing after him. There were only 2 demon lords. Seeing that the 2 Asmodean lords were chasing after him, Luli stopped and released 2 soul attacks. The 2 Asmodean lords tumbled in midair. Luli's blades of origin energy killed the 2 Asmodean lords easily. After the Asmodean lords were dead, Luli left. He took a detour and sneaked to the rendezvous point with Emperor Unfettered. The rendezvous point was a bit far away. Luli moved on, using the trace of Tao to go around the Asmodean lords nearby. Z avoided the scouts of the Abyss of Demons. 2 days later, Luli arrived at the rendezvous point. It was a small valley with a formation of illusion. It must have been built by Emperor Unfettered. Luli asked Blood Fairy to crack the formation. He went in easily and sat down to cultivate and wait. A day had passed, and Emperor Unfettered had not shown up. Luli was getting nervous. Under normal circumstances, Emperor Unfettered should have been here by now. Another 2 days passed. 3 days later, Emperor of Freedom still hadn't shown up. Luli's face was clouded with anxiety. Under such circumstances, either Emperor Unfettered was dead or he was being chased by the Asmodean lords and was running. Whatever. Luli waited for another 2 hours and sighed. He could not wait forever. This place was not absolutely safe. He had to do as Emperor Unfettered said. He would go and kill the Abyss of Demons on his own. Z was here. Emperor Unfettered, you must be okay. Chapter 29-25. After Luli left, he didn't immediately attack the nearby Asmodeans. Instead, after sneaking around for half a day, he locked onto a target. It was an Asmodean that wasn't too big or too small. There should only be a demon lord inside. Even if there was a demon lord, it wouldn't be a very strong one. Luli didn't sneak around. Instead, he flew to this Asmodean as fast as he could. Then, he condensed his Dharma form and aimed it at the Asmodeans below. Z attacked directly. As soon as Luli arrived, he alerted the Asmodean soldiers below. 2 demon lords rushed up at once. Luli basically ignored them after seeing that they were demon lords. He attacked with his Dharma form. Boom, boom, boom. The Asmodean chi below was tumbling, and the Asmodean formation was activated. The Asmodean didn't explode right away and blocked Luli's attack. Suddenly, countless Asmodean soldiers rushed up. There were at least a few thousand of them. Luli took out his horn and dodged to the left and right. He wasn't in a hurry to kill the 2 demon lords. Instead, he condensed his Dharma form again and attacked downwards. Wherever the Dharma form went, countless Asmodean soldiers were shredded into a mist of blood. Boom, 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 boom. At the same time, Luli was also hit by many Asmodean soldiers. But his defense was so strong that he was unharmed. The second Dharma idol attack, the demons below, Z still wasn't destroyed. The 2 demon lords rushed over and began to attack Luli. Die. Luli condensed a sword of soul and stabbed at the soul of a demon lord. This was Luli's most powerful soul attack. How could the demon lord withstand it? The soul was annihilated and the body fell down powerlessly. The other demon lord condensed next to Luli, and its black claws reached for Luli's head. Luli didn't want to attack this demon lord. Since it had come to him, Luli wouldn't show any mercy. He reached out his claws towards the demon lord without fear. The 2 claws collided. The result was obvious. Luli's physical body was now much stronger than an average Emperor Realm warrior. This demon lord's physical body was only comparable to an Emperor Realm warrior. Under this touch, the demon lord's claws were torn apart. Luli's claws continued forward and tore the demon lord apart. As soon as the demon lord was killed, Luli could ignore the rest of the Asmodean soldiers. He continued to condense his Dharma form. Zeeth attacked heavily. After another 2 or 3 attacks, the demon king below stopped. The Z-demon array was destroyed. Demons? Now that Z had been destroyed, the rest was easy. Luli began to slaughter the Abyss soldiers nearby. The Asmodean warriors of the Abyssal Realm were not intelligent. Without the control of the Asmodean Lord, they could not run away. It took Luli an hour to kill all of them. Luli did not rest after the Abyssal Demon warriors were killed. He flew into the void at once. Compared to hiding and escaping, Flying through the void was more reliable. After 2 rounds, Luli found a place to hide. He deactivated the dragon transformation and rested to recover his strength. After resting for a day, Luli looked for his next target. Just like that, Luli continued to search for targets. Every time, he was very careful. Maybe it was because all the Asmodeans nearby were attracted by the Emperor of Freedom. Luli didn't encounter any Asmodean lord in the following month. He had destroyed 8 Asmodeans. During this period of time, he didn't receive any news about the unfettered Emperor, which made him feel even more uneasy. He was afraid that something had happened to the unfettered Emperor. The unfettered Emperor was not only the most powerful warrior of the human race, but also Lu Li's respected senior. Lu Li rested in an abandoned village for a day and was ready to continue his search. Right at that moment, a jade talisman in Lu Li's hand glowed. This jade talisman was specially made. When it glowed, it meant that someone was asking for help within 300,000 miles. Only the 100 warriors that came this time had this jade talisman. They would change to a different one every time. If they were to die in battle, they would crush the jade talisman at once to prevent it from being used by the enemy. The glowing jade talisman meant that someone was nearby and they were in danger. They were probably being hunted down by powerful warriors from the abyss of demons. Without hesitation, Lu Li flew toward the direction where the jade talisman glowed. The warriors that came this time were all-powerful warriors, elites of the human race. As an emperor, Lu Li was one of the most powerful warriors of the human race. Now that the elites of the human race were being hunted down by the abyss of demons, how could he sit back and do nothing? The 2 jade talismans could sense each other. Lu Li moved forward quickly through the jade talisman. As he got closer to the other jade talisman, the one in Lu Li's hand glowed brighter. He carefully avoided the scouts nearby. After 6 hours, he finally found the human elites being hunted down. There were 2 warriors at the later stage of the 6th tribulation who were being hunted down by 4 Asmodeans. Those 4 were all-powerful Asmodean lords. Lu Li checked with psychic power to make sure that there were no Asmodeans or Lord Asmodeans nearby. Then, he released the dragon transformation at once and dashed toward them. Emperor Lu is here. Emperor Lu, help us. The 2 lords were overjoyed and shouted. The 4 Asmodean lords were solemn. Lu Li was fast. He dashed over and stopped the 4 Asmodean lords. Charge! The 4 Asmodean lords bellowed and launched powerful attacks at Lu Li. Lu Li was not afraid at all. He released a sword of soul to attack one of the Asmodean lords. At the same time, he released the armor of origin energy. This time, he did not use it to attack. Instead, he focused his mind on the chains of order in the realm of Dharma. The chains of order were usually in the realm of Dharma. After Lu Li reached the Emperor realm, there was a spiritual connection between this item and him. It seemed that the chains had completely surrendered to Lu Li. Come out, Lu Li shouted. A golden chain appeared in his hand. The energy from the chain was so horrifying that it seemed to be able to suppress the entire sky. Go to hell, Lu Li shouted and swung the divine chains. A golden shadow glowed, and the divine chains turned into a ray of golden light, sweeping toward the remaining 3 Asmodeans. Bang! The first Asmodean lord did not even have the time to dodge. He was hit and crushed into a mist of blood. The second Asmodean lord tried to run away, but he realized that there was an invisible force pressing down on him. He could not move at all. He could only watch as the chain of order swept toward him. In the end, he also turned into a mist of blood. The third Asmodean lord was smarter. He turned into a shadow, as if he was trying to escape with his incorporeal body. But he was overthinking. The chain of order swept over, and his body was shaken out. Then, he was mercilessly crushed into dust. The other Asmodean lord fell down, and his soul was destroyed by Lu Li's soul attack. Lu Li easily killed 4 demon masters in one move, leaving the 2 lords dumbfounded. It was not difficult for an Emperor Realm warrior to kill Asmodean lord, but Lu Li did it so easily. The 2 lords exclaimed and were shocked. Lu Li had just reached the Emperor Realm. How could he be so powerful? Thank you, Emperor Lu. Chapter 29-26. Where are the others? How come only you two are here? Luli asked with a frown, not noticing the smile on the man's face. The other lord explained, we ran into powerful warriors from the abyss of devils. There was one Asmodean lord and 6 Asmodean lords. 3 of them were killed, and the rest ran away in 2 groups. One of us was killed. That Asmodean lord went after the other 4. I don't know if he is still alive or not. Asmodean lord? Luli pulled a long face and asked, is that Asmodean lord powerful? How powerful is he compared to an Emperor Realm warrior? The hawk-nosed old man thought about it and said, he should be at the middle stage of an Emperor Realm warrior. He has a strong move. He attacked from underground and killed 3 of us in an instant. One of us was an Emperor Realm warrior. Lead the way. Luli made up his mind. As long as it was not a particularly powerful Asmodean lord, he could still fight. If there were others that survived, then he could save them. Let's go. The 2 old men were more confident after witnessing Luli's abilities. They led the way. At the same time, one of the old men took out a jade talisman and crushed it to see if there was a response. If those were still alive, there must be a response. An hour later, the jade talismans in the hands of Lu Li and the other 2 old men glowed at the same time. Lu Li and the other 2 were overjoyed. The glow of the jade talismans indicated that the 4 were not all dead. Someone had sent out a signal for help. Should I put you into my interspatial artifact and go rescue them at full speed? Or do you stay here and I will go by myself? Luli asked. The 2 old men were still a bit slow. One of the old men was hesitating. The hawk-nosed old man nodded and said, Emperor Lu, put us in. We trust you. The other old man nodded without saying anything. Luli put them into his interspatial artifact at once and rushed toward the north as fast as he could. He paid no attention to the scouts and warriors from the abyss of devils nearby. He rushed forward as fast as he could. In an hour, he found a man. That man was covered in blood. He had lost an arm and half a shoulder. When he saw Lu Li, he was overjoyed and shouted, Emperor Lu, there is an Asmodean lord and 2 Asmodean lords. Be careful. The rest of us have been killed. Enter my spatial artifact first. Luli said, since the Asmodean lord said so, the lord would not be able to escape. The lord said without hesitation, thank you, Emperor Lu. Be careful. Hoo-hoo. Luli had just put away the Asmodean lord when a dark cloud came from the distance. Luli sensed clearly that there was an Asmodean lord followed by 2 Asmodean lords flying over in a frenzy. Luli wanted to fly away, but since the Honor Asmodean was here, he could not do that. Luli released the Dragon Transformation, Origin Energy Armor, Heaven Armor, and Dragon Wrestle. He was fully armed and ready to risk his life. Previously, when he encountered Qian Yuan, he was almost killed by Qian Yuan. The Demon Lord was still very strong. He had to be careful. If he was defeated, not only would he have to stay here, but the 3 lords would also die. He didn't release a soul attack. Instead, he first released an Origin Blade. He also released a doppelganger technique. The sky was filled with his afterimages, and each doppelganger was releasing an Origin Blade. It looked very frightening. The 2 Asmodean lords were frightened. Out of instinct, they stepped back. The Honor Asmodean sneered. He vanished into thin air. Luli had been using the Trace of Tao, but he could not find where the Honor Asmodean was. Bang! The ground under Lu Li's real body suddenly burst open. Following that, many huge black hands reached out from the ground, reaching toward Lu Li from all sides. Lu Li tried to sense and realized that every single hand was a real body. Ripples in space. Lu Li remembered what a mortal of Tianzue said. He tried to sense the ripples in space from those hands at once. His eyes glowed after a while. He noticed that the ripples in space on one of the hands were more obvious. Buzzing, Lu Li took out the divine chains of order at once and swept at the hand. With a sweep of the God Order chain, the arm actually turned into nothingness and disappeared in mid-air. The reaction speed of this demon lord was too fast. Boom, 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 boom. Those arms were all capable of attack. Lu Li's armor of origin energy managed to stop 5 of the claws. When the 6th claw came, Lu Li's armor of origin energy was crushed. But Lu Li had already begun to dodge. At the same time, he swung the divine chains of order to attack the claws. In the end, he was only scratched by 2 claws. Some of the scales on Lu Li's tail and body were broken. Blood oozed out. How can they all be real bodies? Are they not his arms, but some kind of skill? Lu Li was shocked. If he had not reacted fast enough, he would have been hit by dozens of claws. Otherwise, he would have been seriously injured. He used the trace of Tao to sense the surroundings, trying to find the real body of the Honor Asmodean. Lu Li began to build the Sword of Soul in his soul. As soon as he did so, the ground underneath him burst open again. Then, countless black claws reached up to the sky and reached at him. Found him. Lu Li located the Honor Asmodean's soul through the ripples in space. Without any hesitation, Lu Li released the Sword of Soul and attacked the Honor Asmodean's soul. Nice! All of a sudden, the claw stopped in midair. Lu Li was overjoyed. Ignoring the incoming claws, he swung the divine chains of order and smashed at the claw that stopped in midair. Boom! The claw was crushed by the divine chains of order. Lu Li had suffered 3 or 4 attacks. More than a dozen scales fell off. What shocked Lu Li was that the other claws were still attacking. They showed no signs of stopping. Theoretically speaking, Lu Li had found the Honor Asmodean's soul and destroyed the claw with the soul. The Honor Asmodean's soul should be gone. If the soul was gone, then the Honor Asmodean should be dead. Why was he still attacking? If so, then the Honor Asmodean was not dead. Lu Li continued to check the surroundings. Soon, he noticed some ripples in space underground. Boy, there were more claws coming at him. Lu Li didn't care. He swung the divine chains of order and hacked at the ground. At the same time, he built another sword of soul and stabbed downward. Human bastard, you do have some tricks up your sleeve. I will kill you next time. Lu Li heard a creepy voice. Following that, black smoke rose from the ground and spread to all sides. This time, Lu Li cannot tell where it was. He had to swing the divine chains of order to sweep around. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Li was scratched by 7 or 8 claws. More than half of his scales were torn off. He was covered in blood. He sensed that the Honor Asmodean had run away. Lu Li felt it was a pity. He did not have the experience of fighting against the Honor Asmodean. He should have hurt the Honor Asmodean just now. It was a pity that he could not kill it. The Honor Asmodean's soul must have been hurt. Otherwise, he would not have run away in such a hurry. Move! The Honor Asmodean's skills were freakish. If Lu Li had not hurt him, he would have been tortured to death. Lu Li did not linger. He flew away quickly. Tens of thousands of miles away, he flew across the void and fled. He flew across the void for 3 times and found a safe place. He let the 3 lords out and said, "Protect me. I need to tend to my wounds." The 3 asked some questions. Lu Li gave them some answers and went to closed-door cultivation to tend to his wounds. One of the 3 was badly injured as well, but they had no time to tend to their wounds. 2 patrolled nearby, and 1 sat next to Lu Li to protect him. Chapter 29-27. Lu Li's injuries were neither serious nor light. He was fully recovered after 2 days of rest and treatment. After a day's rest, Lu Li told the injured lord to stop patrolling and come back to tend to his wounds. Lu Li's wounds were almost healed, but he didn't intend to leave. For one thing, the lord needed to tend to his wounds. For another, Lu Li was thinking about the fight with the Asmodean lord. He could have killed the Asmodean lord, but he lacked the experience. Half a day later, Lu Li decided to leave. He had stayed here for too long. It would be troublesome if powerful warriors from the abyss of fire tracked him down. He looked at the 3 and said, "Do you want to come with me or go back on your own?" Before the other 2 could say anything, the hawk-nosed old man said at once, "Of course we will go with Emperor Lu. It will be hard for the 3 of us to go back to the flying fire continent safely. Emperor Lu, we have accomplished our mission. We have destroyed 10 Asmodean puppets. The other two looked at each other. The injured lord said with embarrassment, "Emperor Lu, if you don't think we are a burden, we will follow you." The other one nodded. Luli didn't think it was a big deal. After all, it would be safer to go with him. Waving his hand, Luli said, "Then let's go. Let's go to the flying fire continent slowly. If there is a chance, kill some warriors from the abyss of fire and destroy some Asmodean puppets." "We will do as you say, Emperor Lu." The hawk-nosed old man put on an attentive smile and asked, "Emperor Lu, aren't you with Emperor Xiao Yao? Why don't I see him?" "I don't know." Luli shook his head and said, "We went our separate ways. I don't know the specifics." Luli was worried that something had happened to Emperor Xiao Yao, but he couldn't talk about it, so he didn't say anything. After all, he was not familiar with the three. Luli led the three on. Relying on his senses, the average scouts from the abyss of Fire Continent couldn't sense them. Luli took them around the scouts and traveled for 3 days in peace. Luli had his eyes on target. It was a small Asmodean puppet. Clearly, it was under construction. Since Luli and the other two happened to pass by, they would destroy it. Luli didn't even do anything. He let the three lords do it while he stayed on the sidelines. If he was exposed, he would attract the attention of the powerful warriors from the abyss of demons. There was only one demon lord in this Asmodeans. Luli didn't even have to do anything. The three lords killed the Asmodeans easily. Not a single Asmodean warrior escaped. "Let's go." Luli put the three into the separated heaven bead and then flew away with them. Luli didn't want his whereabouts to be tracked by the abyss. After 3 or 4 times, Lu went to the Asmodean realm and Asmodean tribe. Their direction of advance was not fixed to the south. Instead, they kept taking detours, one to the southeast, the next to the southwest, not giving the abyss a chance to lock onto their route. In the next half a month, Luli continued to find targets and destroy abyssal demons. In total, he had destroyed 7 abyssal demons and killed tens of thousands of abyssal demons. But as human warriors, this was what they should. As the warriors. As they were. They. Luli and the others arrived at the south of the northern plains. They would arrive at the frigid sea in 5 or 6 days. They wouldn't do anything in the frigid sea because it was too close to the flying fire continent. They were afraid that the Asmodean lord from the abyss of Fire Continent would come and assassinate them. "Get 2 or 3 more Asmodean puppets, and we will leave." Luli checked the map and said to the 3 lords. The 3 nodded, acting as if they were following Luli's lead. They felt more at ease following Luli. They were convinced by Luli's abilities and strange abilities. They didn't run into any Asmodean lords along the way. The 4 of them wandered around. Soon, Luli found a target. It was not a large Asmodean puppet with only thousands of warriors. This kind of Asmodean puppet was the easiest to kill. Luli didn't have to do anything. He just had to stay on guard. Do it. Kill them all. Leave none alive. Kill them as soon as possible, and then gather here. Luli waved his hand, and the 3 lords dashed forward like ferocious tigers. Luli, on the other hand, wandered around in case any Asmodean lord would come to his aid. Luli tried to sense, but didn't worry too much. This Asmodean puppet did not have many powerful warriors. There was only one Asmodean lord, which was not particularly strong. The 3 lords could defeat the Asmodean domain easily. He was right. The 3 lords were like ferocious tigers that were unstoppable. As they swept forward, teams of demon abyss soldiers were easily killed. It was no different from slaughtering pigs and dogs. Luli wandered around for a bit and then went back to the rendezvous point. It didn't take long to kill the thousands of warriors. In less than an hour, they were wiped out. Luli saw the 3 lords coming back. He was ready to fly away. Whoosh! The 3 of them came back and bowed. The hawk-nosed old man said, "Emperor Lu, we have killed them all. Good. Let's go." Luli nodded. When he was about to draw a formation in the void, he heard some footsteps coming from the mountain behind him. The footsteps were light, but the 3 lords were taken aback when they heard it. Footsteps meant that someone was coming. However, Luli and the 3 lords sensed nothing. This person had come over without anyone noticing. Lu Li and the others looked over at once. They saw an old man in sackcloth with disheveled hair walking over. The old man was barefooted, which was odd. This old man looked no different from average human beings. He didn't have the chi and energy of a powerful warrior. He seemed to be an average civilian. There was no emotion on his face. He was like an old farmer walking in the countryside. However, Lu Li's hair stood on end when he saw this old man. He could not sense anything from this old man, but he had come close without a sound. Needless to say, this old man was much more powerful than Lu Li. Lu Li could even sense Emperor Freedom or Emperor Candle Heaven. No matter how hard they tried to hide their power, Lu Li could sense it. In other words, this old man was very likely a Saint Emperor. There was only one Saint Emperor at the third heaven. More importantly, Lu Li did not sense the presence of a human on this old man. It was highly possible that this old man was the Asmodean Lord. But why did the demon ancestor have the appearance of a human? For a moment, Lu Li was confused. He put his guard up. The three lords were a little confused. They didn't know when such an unfamiliar powerhouse had appeared among the humans. Lu Li thought about it, bowed, cupped his fists, and said, "I am Lu Li. Lord, you are..." The old man stood on the grassland thousands of feet in front of Lu Li and the others. He said emotionlessly, "My name? It's been so many years that I've almost forgotten. I only remember that my surname is Han." His surname is Han. Lu Li's expressions changed. Rare universe falcons. Chapter 29-28. Are you afraid? The old man looked at Lu Li with a smile and said, "Didn't you enjoy yourself just now? You must be the most talented human, Lu Li, right? I have heard about you. You have reached the Emperor realm at such a young age. You are good." The three lords also sensed that something was wrong. Their expressions became extremely ugly, and their bodies began to tremble slightly. Facing a demon, the three of them couldn't even muster the slightest bit of fighting spirit. They were not even at the quasi-emperor realm. They could only wait for death when facing the Asmodean. To face an Asmodean was like an ant facing a dragon. Roar! Without any hesitation, Lu Li used the dragon transformation, dragon wrestler, heaven armor, and origin energy armor at once. At the same time, he took out the chains of order, generated the sword of soul, and released the Dharma form. All in all, he had used all his life-saving skills. He had no confidence in facing an Asmodean. That being said, he had to bite the bullet. He could not sit around and wait for death. "Run!" Lu Li yelled. He released the sword of soul, and the Dharma form whooshed on. At the same time, he swung the chains of order toward the Asmodean. He did not want to kill the Asmodean. He just wanted to inflict some harm to the Asmodean. That would be enough. The Asmodean laughed. His voice was cold. The sword of soul had entered the Asmodean's soul. However, just like what happened to the immortal of sin, the sword pierced into an ocean without stirring up any ripple. The Asmodean waved his hand. An invisible ripple spread out. Lu Li's powerful Dharma form collapsed at once, like a bubble blown by a gust of wind. Swish! Lu Li's chain of order swept over. The Asmodean reached out a skinny hand and grabbed the chain of order. The powerful chain was caught by the Asmodean easily. Lu Li pulled hard, but the chain would not budge. The three lords wanted to run away, but none of them dared to move at this sight. Lu Li made up his mind and bellowed. He loosened the chains of order and dashed over. His claws glowed with source energy in a cold glare as he reached for Asmodean Lord's head. The ancestor demon did not move and merely laughed mockingly. His eyes shone with a gleam as an invisible force field appeared in front of him. Suddenly, Lu Li's claws could not move forward within 3 feet of Lord Asmodean. At this moment, Lu Li and the three lords also felt a great pressure. The 4 of them felt suppressed, and it was difficult for them to move. "It's over." Lu Li's mind was weighed down. The disparity was too vast. In front of Lord Asmodean, Lu Li felt he had become a child. He was going to kill a tiger with a wooden sword. They were not on the same level. He's going to die. Lu Li, on the other hand, did not have much fear. He had been through so many life-threatening crises over the years, and he had hovered between life and death for so many times. He was satisfied that he could live this long and reach the Emperor realm. The Lu family now had a firm foothold in the third layer of heaven. With immortal Tianzue around, no one dared to touch the Lu family. His only regret was that he could not have a child, so that his wives and concubines could have a glimmer of hope. With his death, many of his wives and concubines would be heartbroken. Lord Asmodean did not kill Lu Li at once. Instead, he said with a smile, "Do you want to live or die? I can see that you are a talent, and I will give you a chance." Without any hesitation, Lu Li said with pride, "I have no other request. Make it quick for me. Surrender to the Asmodeans? Become like Qi Tianyu, who was neither a human nor a ghost. Lu Li would rather die, be controlled as a slave, and then turn around to deal with warriors at the third layer of heaven. He might even have to kill his own family and friends. How could Lu Li do such a thing?" The three lords said coldly, "Make it quick for us. It's easy to die." Lord Asmodean said, "But it is hard to live well. Don't you have to think about your families and families? The Middle King world is doomed. If you surrender, then after we occupy the Middle King world, at least your families can survive." It seemed that Lord Asmodean really appreciated Lu Li. He was wasting his breath here. If he were any other warrior, he would have been slapped to death. Lu Li was not moved. He was a proud man. How could he be someone's slave? He said coldly, "You want me to become a monster like Qi Tianyu? I would rather become a ghost and be your slave. I'm not Emperor Ya or Emperor Yu. You don't have to be anyone's slave." The demon ancestor said very seriously, "All you need to do is enter the holy pond and be tainted with holy qi. I won't ask you to do anything, much less kill your compatriots. I'm a man of my word. How about that?" Lu Li was surprised. Lord Asmodean was the most powerful warrior in the Asmodean's abyss. Big shots would not speak easily, and they usually kept their word. Lord Asmodean was offering such generous terms to recruit him. Lu Li thought about it and asked, "Will I lose my mind when I go to the holy pond? Will I still have my mind?" "Of course," Lord Asmodean said with certainty. "You are still you. You can still cultivate. Nothing has changed. The only difference is that you will become a citizen of the holy pond. You cannot do anything to the citizens of the holy pond, or else the holy energy in you will make you explode and your soul will explode. More than 3 million years ago, we had a war with your Middle King realm, and at that time, many powerhouses entered the holy pond. In the end, these people all died of old age in the sacred abyss. They didn't suffer any unfair treatment in the demonic abyss." Lu Li understood now. Lord Asmodean's words should be credible. When he went to the holy pond, he would be affected by the demonic energy, and then he would become a citizen of the abyss. The demonic energy would lurk in his body and soul, and he could not dissolve it. If he did anything to the abyss, the demonic energy would backfire on him, and he would die instantly. Like Emperor Ya? Therefore, once he went to the holy pond, he could not do anything to the citizens of the abyss. In that case, he would be no threat to the abyss. No threat and no benefit. Lu Li could not figure out. He only paused for a moment before he understood. The fact that he surrendered to the abyss was beneficial to the abyss in itself. He was the hero of the human race, the idol of many, the rising star of the third heaven. As long as the news of him defecting to the demon abyss spread, the morale of the entire third heaven would drop by a lot. In addition, it would also serve as an example to the other powerhouses. Perhaps more and more people would seek refuge in the demon abyss. At that time, it would be the end of the third heaven. Lu Li said nothing after he figured out the key point. There was hesitation on his face, as if he was in a dilemma. The three of them looked at each other and had a bad feeling in their hearts. It seemed that Lu Li wanted to surrender. What should they do if Lu Li surrendered? Chapter 29:29. Seek refuge at the abyss of demons. These words were like a bolt from the blue that rang in the ears of the three lords. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They didn't think that Lu Li would be willing to surrender. Lu Li was an Emperor Realm warrior. How could an Emperor Realm warrior be so cowardly? Every powerful warrior had pride and dignity. How could a man without pride and dignity have a meteoric rise? A man without pride and dignity was prone to retreat and surrender. A man who was afraid of death would retreat when faced with a life-threatening crisis. How could he make a breakthrough? How could he improve his abilities? Lu Li could reach the Emperor Realm at such a young age, and he was powerful. Lu Li had fought his way up. A man like him would never yield to fate and would never bow down and admit defeat. How could Lu Li surrender? Surrender to the abyss of demons, to the alien races? This was hard to accept, and the three lords were dumbfounded. Okay, Lord Asmodean waved his hand and said, "You three can go now." For Lord Asmodean, the three lords were small fries. It didn't matter if they were killed or not. What he wanted was Lu Li's surrender. Lu Li's prestige was similar to that of Emperor Burning Heaven. A powerful warrior like him surrendering to the abyss of demons would be like an earthquake to the entire third heaven. The morale of the entire third heaven would plummet. Next time, if a powerful warrior was captured, the chances of surrendering would be higher. The three lords looked at each other. None of them immediately fled, nor did they know what to say. Lu Li looked at the three and said, "What are you waiting for? Do you want to surrender to the abyss of demons as well?" The three lords looked at each other. The old man with the aquiline nose made up his mind and shouted, "Let's go." He was the first to leave. The other two also gritted their teeth and stood up, resolutely dashing into the distance. After the three of them left, Lu Li had mixed feelings. Once he made this decision, he would lose all standing and reputation. As soon as the three of them escaped, they would spread the news about him. By then, the third heaven would be destroyed, and he, Lu Li, would be doomed to go down in history. Not only would his reputation be ruined, but so would the Lu family. Yin family, Xiang family, Qi family, and Hua family's reputation would be affected, especially the Lu family. In the future, the disciples of the Lu family would be hated by everyone. They would not even dare to step out of the mystic armor city. That being said, Lu Li was not worried about the safety of the Lu family. As long as the immortal of Tianzue was still alive, nobody would dare to lay a finger on the Lu family. Even if immortal Tianzue is dead, isn't there still the great demon king? Lu Li believed that as long as the devil king was at the third heaven, he would not sit by and watch the Lu family be destroyed. Lu Li really wanted to surrender. He didn't want to kill himself after the three left. Lu Li was not afraid of death. He just wanted to have a try. He wanted to see if he could have a chance to escape and return to the human race after he surrendered. Oh, that's right. Lu Li wanted to take a gamble. It wasn't that he didn't have the capital. He had the hope of survival and the chance to escape. He had previously obtained a treasure, a nameless bead. It was the bead he had obtained from the palace beneath Saint Praying Mountain. The nameless pearl didn't have much use. Its only use was to help people overcome their tribulations. That being said, Lu Li thought of another use. The nameless bead might be able to help him maintain his original mind and prevent him from being completely demonized. He could put a strand of his primary soul in the nameless bead. In this way, the primary soul would always be pure. In that case, he wouldn't be completely demonized. As long as he was not completely demonized, there was still a chance for him to become a pure-blooded human again. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, Lu Li would not give up. Reputation didn't matter to him. What mattered most was staying alive. What if he became a demon? Z realized that something was amiss. If the demon ancestor wanted him to become a demon slave, he would definitely self-destruct. Good. The Lord of Asmodeans grinned and said, "Lu Li, come with me." Lu Li nodded. The Lord of Asmodeans waved his hand and gave the divine chain of order back to Lu Li. The Lord of Asmodeans walked over and grabbed Lu Li's shoulder. Then, the Lord of Asmodeans tore open the void and brought Lu Li in. The two vanished into the void. Not long after Lu Li was in the void, the Lord of Asmodeans tore open the void again and appeared in a cave. The cave was luxurious. Inside was a small palace. How many people were in the palace? Sacred ancestor Tion. Those people knelt on the ground and saluted. The Lord of Asmodeans waved his hand and said, "Activate the formation of Asmodeans." They're all Asmodeans? Luli was surprised. Why were all the Asmodeans in the shape of humans? Could the Asmodeans take the shape of humans? The other Asmodeans were confused as well. Why did the Lord of Asmodeans bring back a human? Nobody dared to doubt the Lord of Asmodeans' order. One of the Asmodeans went to the castle next door. The Lord of Asmodeans didn't say anything and brought Luli into the castle. There was an altar in the castle, similar to the one Luli blew up, but smaller. The altar was activated. The Lord of Asmodeans brought Luli in. With a flash of dark light, Luli and the Lord of Asmodeans disappeared from the altar. This time, the teleportation took a long time. After an hour, Luli found himself in a hall that was even more splendid and magnificent than the last one. This should be the holy Asmodeans. Luli sensed that there were many powerful beings around. He didn't dare to use psychic power and just followed the Lord of Asmodeans. The Lord of Asmodeans walked out. There were 2 Asmodeans guarding outside. Both of them were in the shape of humans. But the 2 Asmodeans had tattoos on their faces, which was quite strange. Along the way, Luli saw many Asmodeans in the shape of humans. The Asmodeans knelt on the ground when they saw the Lord of Asmodeans. Their eyes were filled with devotion and passion. The holy Asmodeans? It was like an underground palace. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, they came to a hall where Luli saw many Asmodeans, dozens of them. The Asmodeans bowed to the Lord of Asmodeans. They were surprised to see Luli. They could tell that Luli was a pure-blooded human. A pure-blooded human of the great Emperor realm had become a holy Asmodean. Open the pond. Let him be baptized in the holy water. Asmodean Lord waved his hand. The group of Asmodean lords came to their senses and understood Asmodean Lord's intention. They began to look at Luli with interest. Someone had already recognized Luli. Emperor Lu, right? Come with us. 2 Asmodeans walked over. Luli cupped his fist to the Lord of Asmodeans. Then, he followed the 2 Asmodeans to the back of the hall. After several turns, they arrived at a large castle. Pushing open the door, Luli saw a golden pond. The pond was not large, and it was filled with golden liquid. One of the Asmodeans pointed to the pond and said, "Soak in there for 7 days and 7 nights. From now on, you will be a citizen of the holy Asmodeans." Chapter 29:30. Even though Luli knew he would be doomed eternally if he stepped into the pond, what else could he do? If he didn't step in, he would die right away. He still had a chance of survival. A strand of his primary soul was in the nameless bead. Once he sensed something was wrong and he might be demonized, he would not hesitate to shatter his own soul and commit suicide. He walked toward the pool step by step. When he reached the side of the pool, he looked at the calm pool and closed his eyes. His body leaped up and fell into the pool. Splash! The holy water in the pond began to tumble and ripple. Soon, the ripples turned into waves, and the water began to boil. The pond was deep. Luli was covered in it. At first, he showed no emotions, but soon he was in pain. The pond made Luli feel like he had fallen into the blood pond of Ancestor Dragon. He felt like he had fallen into a pool of magma. His entire body was burning. The golden liquid seeped into his pores. He felt every part of his body was burning, including his soul. He was in agony. Usually, Luli would endure it, but he didn't. He began to roll around in the pond like an angry dragon. Ha! The 2 demon sovereigns glanced at each other and smiled faintly. Staying in the sacred pond for 7 days and 7 nights was a kind of torture in itself. If one wasn't at the Emperor realm, an ordinary 6 tribulation martial artist might not be able to endure it. Staying in the pond for 7 days and nights, Luli's entire body would be demonized. He would become a citizen of the abyss of demons, and his soul would be demonized as well. Gradually, he would become like them dedicating everything he had to the abyss of demons. Luli sensed for a while. He was surprised to find that the holy liquid in the pond could strengthen his body. It was not just a little bit. It was obvious, just like when he was in the blood pond of Ancestor Dragon. Not only his body, but his soul was growing as well. That being said, Luli could also sense that there was a strange energy in his body and soul. That energy had integrated with his flesh and blood, becoming a part of him. This energy, Luli sensed it and complained to himself. The energy felt different. It was as if there was something evil in it that made him evil. Not only had his heart turned dark, but his entire aura had also changed, becoming different from that of a normal human. Humans were one type of species, while the creatures of the demonic abyss were another. It was just like the ferocious beasts, demonic beasts, and demons. Their auras were clearly different. This was a difference in species, a difference in essence. At the moment, Luli's chi and energy were different from those of pure-blooded humans. If he walked into a human city, he would be discovered immediately. He would also be treated as a monster, a creature from the demonic abyss. Time moved on bit by bit. Luli sensed many negative emotions in his soul, such as killing, greed, violence, evil, lust, jealousy, and so on. He wished for nothing more than to charge out at this moment and start a massacre, burning, killing, raping, and plundering. Everyone was actually a combination of an angel and a devil. Everyone wanted to do some evil things in their hearts, but because humans were social animals, they were restrained by the morals and laws of the human race. Most people would still suppress the evil thoughts in their hearts. At the moment, Luli felt all the evil thoughts deep inside him were released. All the good qualities were suppressed. He was about to let go of himself and become an evil person. One strand of my main soul is still intact. The nameless bead is working. Luli's other main soul did not have this problem. He felt his soul had been split. Half of it was turned into a demon, and the other half was pure. Wrong. More than half of it was turned into a demon, and only a small part was pure. Time moved on. Luli kept rolling around in the pond. The two Asmodeans had been guarding him with gloating smiles. It was as if they were happy to see a powerful human fall into the path of evil. 7 days passed by in a blink. Luli felt his physical body had grown several times stronger, and his soul had grown as well. However, his soul had completely darkened, and he could feel that his personality had changed greatly. His heart was filled with all kinds of negative emotions, and he couldn't suppress his killing intent at all. He looked like an unsheathed, treasured sword, showing off its sharpness to the fullest. Phew, phew, he stepped out of the pond. All of a sudden, he felt weak in his legs. His mind buzzed, and then he passed out. Even though he was exhausted, he did not expect that he would pass out as soon as he left the pond. Aha! The two Asmodeans laughed. They had a whole new level of respect for Luli that he could make it this far. They didn't know that this human's body and soul were so strong. One of the Asmodeans walked over. He reached out a strand of dark air and sent it into Luli's body. After a while, the Asmodean said in the ancient language, "Well, you are completely corrupted. From now on, you will become a citizen of the sacred abyss." Rustle, rustle, rustle. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps rang out from behind, and the two demon sovereigns turned around before respectfully saluting. "We pay our respects to divine ancestor Tian." The Asmodean lord walked over. He looked at Luli and nodded. "I heard that this punk is an unruly guy. I didn't know that he is so spineless. What a shame, but also a joy." One of the Asmodeans said with a smile, "That is because he met sacred forefather Tian. If it were not for sacred forefather Tian, he would not have surrendered so easily." The demon ancestor waved his hand and said, "The human race still has a lot of backbone. This human might be too young and can't bear die. But if he surrenders to the sacred abyss, it will be beneficial for us to take control of a king realm. After some time, this kid will completely demonize. When that time comes, use the memory crystal to record it and arrange for spies to send it to the humans. Send a few more." Sacred Forefather Tion, you are so wise. The two Asmodeans understood what the Asmodean Lord was thinking. Their eyes glowed. After a while, Luli would be corrupted and some tattoos would appear on his body. By then, they could record it and send it to the humans. The fact that Luli had surrendered to the Asmodeans could no longer be kept under wraps. It would destabilize the morale of the warriors and cause a chain reaction that was not good for the humans. But it would be good for the Asmodeans. Sacred Forefather Tion, one of the Asmodeans remembered something and asked, "What should we do with this punk? Should he go to the front line or secretly contact the humans and instigate more human warriors to defect?" "No, he can do whatever he wants." The Asmodean Lord threw Luli a glance and said with a smile, "The demonic nature in this punk's soul is strong and it is being stimulated. As long as he does not make a scene, he can go wherever he wants and do whatever he wants. After a while, when he is corrupted completely, he will volunteer to serve the Asmodeans." Chapter 29:31. To the west of the Flying Fire continent, there was a medium-sized city called the Flowing Gold City. It used to be controlled by a major family. Now that the family had moved, the city was occupied by a small family. There was a castle at the west of the city. It was a secret castle. At the moment, a teleportation formation in the city glowed. A warrior at the peak of the fifth tribulation realm came. After he came out, he immediately rushed outside and walked into a large hall. "Is there any information?" A handsome young master in a luxurious robe was sitting in the hall. He asked with concern when he saw the warrior. That warrior dropped to one knee and said, "Young master, Lord Long has sent a message." The warrior at the peak of the fifth tribulation realm reported, "He told me himself. They encountered the Lord of Evil and Luli surrendered." Surrendered? Zhu Fan was shocked. He asked in disbelief, "Are you sure? Not killed? Luli surrendered? To the abyss of demons?" "Yes." The warrior at the peak of the fifth tribulation realm said with certainty, "Lord Long said it himself." Not only him, there were two other lords there. They saw Luli surrender to the Lord of Evil. Then how can they come back? Zhu Fan still could not believe that the hook-nosed warrior at the later stage of the sixth tribulation realm with Luli was arranged by him. The reason why the Lord of Evil could catch up with Luli was that the hook-nosed warrior at the later stage of the sixth tribulation realm had leaked the information to Qi Tianyu. Qi Tianyu then asked the Lord of Evil to help. Zhu Fan knew that when Qi Tianyu joined hands with him, they would have to ask for help from the powerful Lord of Evil or the Lord of Evil. Qi Tianyu did not seem to be a human being. He was more like a demon. Zhu Fan believed that Qi Tianyu had gone to the abyss of demons. Zhu Fan thought that Luli would be killed. He didn't expect that Luli would surrender. What kind of person was Luli? What kind of person was he? How could he surrender? As far as Zhu Fan could tell, Luli was a man of unyielding character who would rather die than bend. How could he surrender? This was why anyone who knew Luli wouldn't think that he would surrender to the abyss. The warrior at the peak of the fifth tribulation realm said, after some thoughts, "Lord Long and the other two have gone to the Flying Cloud City. They will report this to the Immortal. I think the news will be spread soon. Luli's reputation will be ruined." "No." Zhu Fan shook his head and said, "It is very likely that Taoist Master Tianzue will suppress this matter. After all, if this matter were spread out, it would be a huge blow to the morale of the army. But Qi Tianyu will not let Luli have an easy time. I think the news will spread out soon." "Ha ha, wait for it." Zhu Fan's guess was right. At this moment, the Flying Cloud City was bustling with noise and excitement. The castle was in an uproar. The dozens of Emperor-level experts were all dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. Emperor Freedom hadn't come back yet. Sunlight Emperor and others looked at each other. They first looked at the 3-6 tribulations to see if they were controlled by the demonic abyss and came back to spread false news. Taoist Tianzue's gaze swept over the three of them. After looking at the three of them, he didn't say anything. Taoist Heavenly Sin did not speak, which naturally meant that he recognized what these three people said is true. This time, The palace immediately exploded. After waiting for a moment, spiritual master Tianze asked, "Tell me the details of the matter." What the three of them said was not a problem. After all, the three of them had destroyed so many demons. Z was targeted by the Asmodean Lord, and then Lu Li surrendered because he didn't want to die. Everything was normal. There was nothing wrong. The only problem was that Lu Li had surrendered. This was not logical. Based on everyone's understanding of Lu Li, he was not a man who would surrender easily. If he would surrender so easily, how could he have dared to provoke Phoenix Queen and Sunlight Emperor? How could he have humiliated Emperor Candle Heaven? The youngest Emperor-level warrior must be proud. He was a famous hero and a legendary figure. How could he surrender? Would he turn to alien races? There was a lot of discussion in the hall. Many people were confused and uneasy. They were uneasy because this matter would have a great impact on the third plane. It might even lead to a series of serious consequences. "You three, come here," Taoist Tianzue suddenly said. The three of them hurried to him. Taoist Tianzue's eyes glowed. Suddenly, the three of them fell to the ground and passed out. "Take them out." Taoist Tianzue waved his hand. The hall quieted down. What was Taoist Tianzue doing? But everyone here was shrewd. They understood at once that the three's memories must have been sealed. Taoist Tianzue ordered, "This can only be done in this castle. Anyone who dares to tell others about this, do not blame me for being merciless." Yes, they cupped their fists and accepted the order. Taoist Tianzue waved his hand. He seemed to be tired. Taoist Tianzue left, leaving his two apprentices here. After Lu Li left, Taoist Tianzue asked, "Master, is there any inside story?" Taoist Tianzue nodded and said, "For what I know of Lu Li, he is not that kind of person. He must have his reasons for doing this. Also, I think maybe the war between us and the abyss of demons is a turning point." Turning point? Taoist Tianzue and Taoist Tianzue were confused. Taoist Tianzue's words made it sound like Lu Li's going to the abyss of demons was a good thing for the third plane. Taoist Tianzue looked at Taoist Tianzue with confusion. Taoist Tianzue thought about it and explained, "My benefactor once said that the one who cracked the Holy Sky Island would be the one to solve the problem." Lu Li's abilities are not strong. I have been wondering how Lu Li was able to solve the problem. Now I think this is the turning point. Taoist Tianzue and Taoist Tianzue still did not understand. Taoist Tianzue waved them away without further explanation. After they left, Taoist Tianzue sat by himself for a long time without saying anything. After a long time, he sighed and said, "My benefactor, can Lu Li really get out of this? You were able to predict today's situation 60,000 years ago?" Taoist Tianzue was not so sure himself. After all, if he could predict this day tens of thousands of years ago, then what was the difference between his benefactor and an immortal? Taoist Tianzue blocked off the information so it was not leaked out. Still, those great Emperor Realm warriors were restless. Fortunately, the abyss of demons did not attack during this time. Half a month later, a piece of news came out and the entire third heaven was boiling. Soon after, this news was confirmed because similar news came from many places. Lu Li had surrendered to the abyss of demons. This news was not spread by some people. Some memory crystals appeared in many places with clear images on them. The images were divided into two parts. The first was Lu Li kneeling to Taoist Tianzue, and the other was Lu Li's metamorphosis. Demonic tattoos appeared on Lu Li's face and body, making him look horrifying. There were two Asmodeans standing next to him. Facts spoke louder than words. With the confirmation from the memory crystals, no one could refute, even though many people could not believe it. In the face of hard facts and evidence, it was a foregone conclusion. The hero of the human race in the past, the brave general appointed by reincarnation, the Emperor himself, had surrendered to the abyss of demons. The entire third heaven was in an uproar. The morale of the army had hit rock bottom. Many people were in a state of panic. Lu Li had always been one of their beliefs. Now this belief had collapsed. Chapter 29:33. It was very difficult to establish faith. In the past, the Reincarnation Emperor had established his faith once. However, after the death of the Reincarnation Emperor, his faith crumbled once. Then, Lu Li and immortal Tianzi rebuilt their faith. Now, Lu Li had surrendered to the enemy? If it were not for the fact that immortal Tianzi was still alive, the entire third heaven would be in chaos. If Lu Li had only died in battle, then the impact wouldn't be so bad. But Lu Li had surrendered to the enemy, which was tantamount to turning his back on the human race. This was a heartless betrayal. Lu Li was the idol of the young generation. Many people worshipped him passionately. Many regarded him as a spiritual pillar and a goal to surpass in their lifetime. But now, this idol had become a shameless traitor. He had betrayed the entire human race and the people who supported him, believed in him, loved him, and worshipped him. The death of Reincarnation Emperor was the collapse of faith. Lu Li's surrender was more like the collapse of his spiritual pillar. This was a serious blow to the morale of the army. In the two war zones, countless soldiers were cursing loudly. Many people were crying loudly. Many people were dead drunk. Even more people had a sad and sorrowful expression on their faces. Among the people, many statues of Lu Li were carried out and burned. Many portraits of Lu Li were torn into pieces. Some large statues in the cities were smashed. All of a sudden, Lu Li was regarded as a traitor. Many cities in the third heaven were swearing at Lu Li. Many people suggested to conquer the mystic armor city. They suggested killing all of Lu Li's family and hanging their bodies on the city wall so that Lu Li could see the consequences of turning his back on the human race. Of course, this was only a minority, who dared to do anything when immortal Tianzi was here. Lu Li's family members were not guilty. The mystic armor city was in chaos. The mystic armor city was lively. Not only the Lu family, but many smaller families had come to the mystic armor city to attach themselves to the Lu family. Some warriors had settled down in the mystic armor city, so the city was lively. Now, the mystic armor city was in chaos. Many people started to evacuate. The smaller families decided to move, regardless of the attitude of the Lu family. Many small families had moved here because they had arranged marriages with disciples of the immediate Lu family. Now, the young ladies that had married into the Lu family were called back and evacuated with the families. Some families that had some properties in the mystic armor city couldn't care less now. They had to evacuate first, fearing that they would be killed if they were late. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. The once bustling city had become empty in just a few days. Some of the soldiers and experts who had sought refuge with the Lu clan had also left. Originally, the Lu family had 4 lords and elders. Now, only one was left. The disciples of the Lu clan were in disbelief when they received the news. After receiving confirmation, all of them fell silent. They didn't even dare to go out for fear of seeing the strange gazes of others. Many people had married wives, but when they returned home, they found that their wives had suddenly run away. They cursed and then howled and cried. There were also many people who gathered together and did not speak. They drank to drown their sorrows, and as they drank, they began to cry. Compared to the disciples of the Lu family, the higher-ups of the Lu family were much more stable. Without Lu Li, Lu Ling was the leader of the Lu family. Even Lu Runwang listened to her. Not only was his daughter powerful, but she was also intelligent and had the air of a great general. Lu Ling didn't do anything about what was happening in the city of mystic armor, including the girls of small families running away. She did not issue any orders to manage the city. She only sealed off the rear courtyard. She did not send out any orders, nor did she see anyone. There was no crying in the rear courtyard of the Lu family. Instead, it was peaceful. In addition to Lu Ling and Lu Renhuang, Lu Li's wives and concubines were not panicking. For them, Lu Li's survival was more important than anything else. Surrender? Lu Ling and the others would never believe that. Even though it was proven that Lu Li had surrendered, they still did not believe it. Instead, they were wondering if this was a special operation planned by Lu Li and immortal Tianzi. They knew Lu Li too well. They had been living together for so many years, and they had been through so many things together. They had faith in Lu Li. They never thought that Lu Li would surrender. There was no doubt at all. Since Lu Li would not surrender, then there must be something fishy going on. Maybe this was a secret operation? Was Lu Li surrendering on purpose? Lu Ling and the others didn't care about the public opinion and the turmoil in the city. They could not control other people's mouths. If the city of Mystic Armor wanted to be in chaos, then so be it. If the families wanted to leave, then so be it. The Lu family was just a small family. It didn't matter if they lost their assets. As long as Lu Li could come back alive, nothing else mattered. If Lu Li could not come back, then those people would not be able to stay. Master will not surrender to the abyss of demons. He will not. Unlure said with determination after she got the news. She even said angrily, "Those who scolded Master deserve to die." 5 days later, Lu Ling left with Qi Ding Dong and Jiang Qiling. They teleported to the Flying Fire Continent at the Flying Cloud City. They wanted to ask immortal Tianzue. Jiang Qiling was Lu Li's wife, and Qi Ding Dong was the descendant of the Reincarnation Emperor. Immortal Tianzue would summon them. Sure enough, they arrived at the Flying Cloud City. Immortal Tianzue received them after Lu Ling asked for permission. Someone from the Purple Clouds town led them in, and they met Immortal Tianzue in a side chamber. The three bowed with respect. Immortal Tianzue waved his hand and said, "You don't have to be so courteous. Lu Li and I are good friends. Please take a seat." Maids served them tea. Immortal Tianzue waved everyone away and asked, "What are you worried about? You have come such a long way. Don't worry. I have asked Yin to spread the word that I will kill anyone that dares to mess around to the city of Mystic Armor." Lu Ling and the other two stood up and thanked him. Immortal Tianzue had done them a great favor. In the end, he said to kill without mercy, not to pursue the matter. These words were much more serious. Not to mention the Yang Emperor and the Phoenix Empress. Even the Candle Heaven Great Emperor wouldn't dare to mess with them. After Lu Ling expressed her gratitude, she bowed solemnly and said, "Immortal, based on our understanding of Lu Li, he will never surrender. We're here to ask if there is any inside story." Immortal Tianzue thought about it. He didn't answer Lu Ling's question directly. He said, "Since you trust Lu Li so much, then you don't have to ask too many questions. Go back and wait. When Lu Li comes back, he will tell you everything." The three's eyes glowed, and they were more confident. They asked no more questions. Immortal Tianzue had guaranteed the safety of the Lu family. When Lu Li came back, all the mysteries would be revealed. If so, what else was there for them to ask? "Ziyan," Immortal Tianzue shouted, after some thoughts. Immortal Tianzue walked in. Immortal Tianzue waved his hand and said, "Escort them back to the city of Mystic Armor in person. Also, send 2 warriors to the city of Mystic Armor to stay there in case some thieves make trouble." "Thank you, Immortal Tianzue." Lu Ling and the others were relieved. Immortal Tianzue was escorting them in person, which represented the will of Immortal Tianzue. Anyone that dared to mess around would be an enemy of Immortal Tianzue. Chapter 29:34. Lu Li didn't know what was going on at the third heaven, but he didn't have time to think about it. His pure primary soul had fallen asleep. The rest of his soul had been demonized. His temperament had changed. He had become a different person. The negative emotions in the depth of his soul were stimulated, and the good qualities in his soul were suppressed. His consciousness was still there, but if his wives saw him now, they wouldn't be able to recognize him. He had been living in the castle. Sacred Ancestor Tian gave Lu Li 10 ladies, the same race as the 2 ladies that served Lu Li before, the Heavenly Asmodeans. This was a strange race in the abyss of devils. The best ladies of the Heavenly Asmodeans were the favorite bed partners of the powerful warriors in the abyss of devils. Lu Li had been enjoying himself. The 12 Heavenly Asmodeans were with him every night. He was having fun every night. It was ridiculous. He had been demonized completely. Demonic tattoos appeared all over his body. It was as if he had tattooed many strange patterns on his body. He looked like a demon. One of the Asmodeans told Luli that the holy chi in his body must be consumed, or else it would wreak havoc and affect his abilities. But if he could consume all of it, his abilities would be enhanced. Luli knew very well that the so-called holy chi was no different from poison. It might be able to enhance his abilities, but his body and part of his soul would be demonized completely. He might not even be able to get rid of the so-called holy chi. But what else could he do? He did feel the holy chi was rioting. If he didn't consume it, he might not be able to suppress the holy chi and explode. Even though he knew it was poison, he had to drink it to make the abyss of devils less wary of him. Later, he could secretly think of a way to get rid of the holy chi, get rid of the control of the abyss of devils, and then go back. He had been trying to consume the holy chi in his body. Since he had no dantian, the holy chi had to be stored in his acupoints. It was difficult to consume the holy chi. That being said, every strand of holy chi was powerful. It took Luli a long time to consume it. As the holy chi was consumed, Luli found that his body was getting stronger. After more than 10 days, the holy chi was consumed. Luli noticed that the demonic tattoos on his body had hidden into his body. But there was another emotion in his heart, the desire for the holy chi. The holy chi was indeed poisonous. After refining his body, both his body and his soul would crave the holy chi. This thing will become addictive after refining, and it will urge you to continuously absorb holy energy. The holy chi could only be found at the holy pond. Not everyone could enter the holy pond. Through the holy pond and the abyss of magic, Luli could be firmly controlled. Luli did not go out. He stayed in the castle, suppressing his desire for the holy chi. 5 days later, he couldn't take it anymore. His personality had already changed greatly. The good qualities in his heart had been suppressed, and his mind was filled with evil thoughts. He walked out and found a demon sovereign, saying that he wanted to enter the sacred pond. The demon sovereign sneered. "Do you think you can enter the holy pond as you please? Even we can only go in once a month. If we want to go in more, we can only exchange it with military merits." Military merit? Luli understood now. The so-called military exploits were armies that went to kill humans. The more they killed, the more military exploits they would get. Then, they would be able to enter the holy pond to absorb the holy chi. Luli understood the demon sovereign's intention. Even though he wasn't a slave to anyone, he had to serve the abyss of magic. He needed the holy chi. If he wanted the holy chi, he would have to help the abyss of magic kill human warriors. Even though Luli had been demonized, he was still a human in his bones. Therefore, he had some resistance to killing fellow humans. He looked at this Asmodean lord named Chien Dagger with red eyes and said, "Can you let me in first?" "Not possible." Chien Dagger sneered and said, "Even though you have been given the surname Chien, according to the rules, you can only go in once every 6 months. Unless you have military merits, don't even think about it." "I want to see Sacred Ancestor Tion," Luli said reluctantly. "Sacred Ancestor Tion is not at the Holy Pond? Z is." Chien Dagger shook his head and said coldly, "Even if he is at the Holy Pond, Z's Sacred Ancestor will not say yes. This is against the rules. The Holy Pond is a place that pays attention to rules." Luli thought about it and asked, "What other ways are there apart from military merits? Is there any other way to get military merits other than killing people?" Chien Dagger paused and said, "It's not just killing people. As long as you make a great contribution to the Holy Pond, it can be counted as military merits. For example, if you can instigate some human warriors to defect and let them follow the Holy Pond, that will be a great contribution. Also, if you help the army of the Holy Pond to conquer cities or kill human warriors, those will be great contributions. In short, anything that is beneficial to the Holy Pond can be done, and you can get military merits." Luli rolled his eyes speechlessly. If it was beneficial to the Holy Pond, then it must be harmful to the human race. Even though Luli's nature had changed, he did not forget that he was a human. This was something that was deeply rooted in his soul. He didn't want to harm the human race. I understand. Luli turned around and went back to the castle to cultivate. He vented his anger on the 12 women of the sky demon race. As time went on, he found that his desire for the holy chi was getting stronger and stronger. It was unbearable. He couldn't help but think about what he could do to get military merits. Many thoughts flashed through his mind, and the evil thoughts in his heart grew stronger. After staying in the castle for half a month, he suddenly got up and walked out. He found Qian Dagger again and said, "I want to go kill people. I want to assassinate human warriors. I wonder if I can get military merits?" Assassinate? Qian Dagger's eyes flashed with a trace of smile as he asked, "What are you preparing to do?" "I'm going to sneak into the Feather Continent," Lu Li said coldly. "There's a big family at the Feather Continent. I'm going to kill their powerful warriors step by step." Qian Dagger's eyes glowed, and he asked, "Feather Continent? The Zhu family?" Lu Li nodded. The Zhu family was his mortal enemy. If he wanted military merits, then he must kill them or help the Holy Pond. If so, why not kill the people of the Zhu family? No matter what, there would be a fight between him and the Zhu family. Instead of waiting for the Zhu family to come back and kill him, why not weaken them first? Assassinate patriarchs of the Zhu family and weaken their power? Sure. Qian Dagger nodded readily and said, "Patriarchs of the Zhu family are considered military merits. You can enter the Holy Pond once if you kill one. The more you kill, the more chances you have. If you can assassinate Zhu Tian, I believe the sacred ancestor will allow you to enter the Holy Pond at will. There will be no more restrictions." Zhu Tian, Lu Li curled his lips. If he had the ability, he would like to kill Zhu Tian. It was a pity that he didn't have the ability yet. "Off you go." Qian Dagger waved his hand and said, "You can take the teleportation formation. I will give you a token. All the demonic beasts will follow you. Of course, I suggest you hide your identity and find a way to hide the demonic chi in you. Otherwise, if the humans find out your whereabouts, you will die a miserable death." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.